Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. I'm Tom Connors. It is time for the show once again. We have the boss man, Andre, with us. How you doing?
Greetings, everyone. I am excellent, and I'm so glad to be here with this excellent panel, as well as, of course, all of you guys watching.
And me. And we also have Script here. How you doing, Script Doctor?
He's
muted.
He had to bug off briefly.
Oh.
He had to bugger off. All right. Well, we also have Culture with us.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for popping over here from my stream. I saw many of you that were there, and I appreciate you being here. And today we have many great things to talk about, and I could not have possibly said that any stranger. I don't know. It's early. I haven't had enough coffee. I don't know. I'll go sit in the corner. I'll be back.
It happens.
Okay. All right.
It happens.
And we have Paul here with a Andy Kaufman with a mustache t-shirt.
No, this is not
that is not
Che Guevara.
No, I see something else. Okay.
This is Louis Riel, the father of the province of Manitoba, who got hanged for his efforts.
It'd be cooler if it was Andy Kaufman with a mustache.
It would be. No, we're now that he has, people have found out about the real history of Louis Riel.
That's a shame. You know what? It's probably because he didn't make proper land acknowledgments. And
probably, yes,
yes.
MEitM have they're coming back. They're coming back. They're buying back their pieces of land that the state took away from them. It's pretty cool. Anyways, yes, I'm here representing MEitM culture on behalf of my wife.
Arg. Oh, wait, wrong thing?
Wrong thing, yes. Okay. I don't think the MEitM said R. They were French Canadian.
Oh, they said.
So they said R-A.
Yeah. No, they probably said, come on in, you stinking Germans.
Anyway, they said A. Yeah, come in.
You're really upsetting us, eh?
Yeah, you are, eh?
Yeah, Dr. Longdongler sends in £1.99. Thank you for that, Dr. Longdongler. It's a thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. We appreciate that here at the channel. We have Morgan King, who's been here for 28 months. Says, hello, everybody, and Midnight's Edge panel. Can I get a BatTom and Joker singing a duet of Happy Birthday? Well, duets don't work real well on here. That's the thing because of the...
the two of them, they generally don't work well together. I think we can just go with that.
Well, it's not even that. It's just that there's a delay. So we can try, but like Culture and I will never be in sync. So let's see here. Does Culture even do a Joker?
I don't know.
That's not a Joker.
I know. I don't know.
Maybe I can do a kind of Joker. How's that sound?
Chris can kind of do one, yes.
Where does he get those wonderful toys?
How does kind of doing the Joker of Mark Hamill kind of Joker?
I could practice it. I could practice. We have a number of birthdays in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just
Well, happy birthday to everybody. Let me while I rustle up BatTom, let's introduce Chris Gore to the panel. How you doing?
Hey,
Did I just stumble on the world's worst imitations live stream? What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, you didn't like our jokers?
You didn't like
I
my
did not
Joker?
like-
What is wrong with my Joker there,
Which
Mr. Gore?
Joker is that? Which
don't
one
know.
is it?
What do you
Are you
think's
doing
the
Well,
Mark
here's the
Hamill
thing.
Joker?
Heavy smoker Joker.
Yeah, Chato, you accidentally did Mark Hamill's Skeletor more so than Joker.
Oh,
That's-
yes, I did, yes. Hello, He-Man. Welcome.
who actually will be returning for season 2 later this very week. So we have
There
a
you
few
go.
days to brace.
Where I
ourselves.
come from, we call it season poo.
You have a deeper register, I guess.
I do. But BatTom is awake. How you doing, BatTom? I sound worse than Chris Gore on Monday morning. Jesus. It's your birthday, Morgan? I'm sorry. We all get older. It's just one of those things we got to deal with. You know what really sucks is when you wake up and you got a gray hair on your nuts. It just sticks out, doesn't go with the rest of the flow, and you're just like, God dang it. Now I'm getting old. It's just life, man. Happy birthday to you, and hopefully you have many more, Morgan. I'm going back to bed.
On behalf of the
I
rest
saw
of
your
the panel, happy
ISS
birthday.
review there.
Wow, BatTom was really like, peace out. See you.
Yeah, it's Monday morning, and
Hey!
if
Hey, Chris is here, though.
Gore isn't a mess Monday morning, then BatTom is certainly going to be. But moving on from there, Tom is back again, so that is something.
You never
at least.
see Tom and Batman together.
Yeah, funny how
Batman was here again?
Yeah, you missed him. It was awesome.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, we're good friends. We hang out on the weekend. So then we got Callum Lyle here who sends an Australian 5 and says, next time I see an actor, I'll ask, how much do you hate your fans? Because it's no secret anymore that they're all a lost cause. Oh, who pissed you off, Callum?
Ooh,
Hmm.
Callum.
That's the thing. He's right. There's so many celebrities that piss people off on a daily basis. I don't even know which one he's referring to
Well,
anymore.
maybe he saw our 80 around the world in 80 days video that we published yesterday, where David Tennant certainly has been making some questionable decisions.
Well, his wife is now on the outs.
Yeah, and he has not defended her. As some people have pointed
Ooh.
out. Yeah, no, of course not. Because if he were to defend his wife, then he'd be next to go. Because
You always
the reason
defend
that his
your partner.
that his wife is in the process of being cancelled right now is that she failed to distance herself from a certain country that has let's just say a
She
high
did
percentage
distance
of,
herself. That was the issue.
but she failed to condemn them. She failed
Correct.
to condemn this country.
She failed
And
to
her
actively.
fans
Yes.
demanded that she condemn them, and she didn't do that. So now she's being cancelled by the very people that she has been trying so hard to cater to and to make happy for
This
so
always
many
happens.
years, transing her own kid and everything like that. But no, it wasn't good enough. She needed to condemn this one country, and she failed to do that. And the problem for David Tennant, of course, if she comes out to her defense, it doesn't help that he's also helped trans her kids and everything, because now then he's going to be cancelled too.
Oh, never mind. He just means all of them, even the non-famous ones.
Oh, okay.
True
Yeah.
story.
You just
Thank you
can't-
for another 2, Callum.
You can't
absolutely.
win. You just can't win.
That's a
That's
song
what
from
I-
The Wiz.
Is that the song from The Wiz?
It's one of the songs. You,
Oh, you
just
can't
can't win. I think
Oh.
the Michael Jackson one too. Which is funny because they're remaking The Wiz again. Well, not The Wiz, but they're making
yeah.
a more diverse Wizard of Oz and It's a Wonderful Life.
I
Oh my
I just
god, I heard that.
yeah, I just want to ease on down.
He's
the road.
on down the road.
That's right.
I liked The Wiz when I at
Me
the
too.
Me
time.
too. I fucking loved it growing up.
It was very, very different, which I think is what made it so unique, and whatever their vision is for a new It's a Wonderful Life. What's weird is here's my prediction for the title for the remake of It's a Wonderful Life. It will be called It's a Wonderful Life, because there are no ideas, and they're trying to supplant these movies by making new versions of them. The only way you can tell the difference is the year in which it was produced. So, and as more people have an aversion to black and white, which is stupid, because Godzilla -1 opens in black and white on Friday. I already have tickets.
Me too.
I already have tickets.
Me too.
Yeah, it's there are really nefarious forces at work here, and It's a Wonderful Life, which is a classic. And a lot of people have problems with politics for that film, which is interesting. So, yeah. 2024, yay.
In the remake version, it'll be the devil instead of God sending down an angel. So of course. And it'll be to make George non-binary.
Well, we know who's going to play the devil or devil representative characters in the film.
All the trans people.
I don't know about that.
I'm not entirely sure about that myself.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
I'm kidding, of course.
What?
I'm making that joke because have you guys seen the Has-Been Hotel thing this last week here?
Hotel?
Is that what it is? I don't give a shit. It looks... It's cultural appropriation, if you ask me.
Is it sponsored by Bud Light?
It looks like it's for little kids. I mean, I'm looking at the animation.
Actually, but yeah, you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
To me, this is the equivalent of selling cigarettes and alcohol to minors through advertising, like Joe Camel and Spuds
my
McKenzie.
God. Tom, the fact that you remember Joe Camel, I did an article. This is weird. I did an article in Hustler magazine about the subliminal imagery in Joe Camel. And if you actually cut the camel apart, it's all like, I mean, it's very, very graphic sexual images.
Oh, you're talking about on the cigarette pack, yeah.
Well, his nose is a penis.
The nose, that's a penis. There's like a thing that's around the nose that is a woman's lips around something. There's clearly a vagina in there. Hey, Monday morning, everybody.
happy Monday morning vagina, everyone.
Yay.
So yeah, no worries, Callum Lyle. I can see what you're saying here. Yeah, this started with the how much you hate your fans. Yeah. So well, they ain't gonna have many left. They keep it up. D-Bud's here.
They hate their fans so much. They made a Star Wars movie. I don't know if you guys are okay. Years ago, this is around 2012. They announced that they were going to make new Star Wars sequels, and that Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill were going to be in them. Then they made the movie. Came out in 2015. For those that don't remember, and then Han, Luke, and Leia were actually in the film, but they never were in a scene together. I know it sounds so stupid that actually happened, but that actually fucking happened. Hey, Monday.
What? They made a Star Wars movie without Han, Luke, and Leia in the same scene? What? That's crazy.
Empire had them in the same scene at least once.
I watched Tom all weekend because he was on all the shows I watched. So just continuing the conversation. You were on fire on Salty Nerd.
Oh, I was on the
great.
Salty Nerd, was I?
I think you weren't. You were on something else I was watching. Damn it.
I did miss Salty Nerd because I was not home. Yeah.
Even you can't keep track of
I know.
what you're on.
Saturday actually wasn't even on until Flashcast, I don't think.
I did watch Flashcast. It's very fun.
That was probably where I was on the most fire.
There was almost no drama on Flashcast, but if you pay attention to others, there's all this drama outside of Flashcast about Flashcast.
It's funny
hey,
how that
Monday.
The irony of ironies is, and this is all I'm going to say about the whole thing, because I have not said one thing publicly about it, is that this whole thing came down because of drama farming, and guess what? The individual in question just decided to drama farm the whole thing.
Right.
So like it's just the irony of ironies, right? Because that's really what boiled down to. Certain parties were sick and tired of other parties just causing issues for everybody. Really is what it boiled down to. But anyway, D-Bud
Yeah.
says, today is my birthday. Oh, it is. Well, happy birthday, D-Bud. Wake up, BatTom. He needs to earn $5. Well, it costs $20 every time. Culture knows.
I'll send you the extra 15.
I always send you the bill.
I know.
Jesus. I just got up again. Birthday. Hi, kid. Hope you have a wonderful, happy birthday with all your friends and family. Happy birthday to you. 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 Insert kid's name here. Happy birthday to you. All right. Is there anybody else who has a birthday before I go back to bed?
Yeah, that's it. I'm done. I'm birthdayed
done.
out.
Happy birthday to all the birthday peoples. Good night. And out. Thank you, BatTom, for your performance. Callum Lyle comes in again with another Australian 5. Says He-Man leaks Hordak got killed by Skeletor. Teal is the hero. Adam is probably sidelined again. Is any of this new? I'd say spoilers, but I'm not surprised, Callum.
The first one. The first one is new. I am not aware that this has happened in Masters of the Universe.
I'm not so sure Skeletor could kill Hordak.
If it has to be like in some toys or something like that, but not in any animated iterations. That's something new. So yeah.
Well, the reason I say that is because look, Andre and I have talked about this before. There's only one person that Skeletor is kind of afraid of.
Yeah, that's Hordak.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought it was Evil Lynn based on the
well,
writing
that too, but
in the last animated thing.
Honestly, she's a formidable foe, yes, but
well, here's like the thing that there actually is plenty precedent for everything between He-Man and Evil Lynn that you saw there. I mean, that was my least of issues. I didn't really have any issues with it. I was like, whoa, you really make it explicit that Skeletor and Evil Lynn are lovers. That was kind of like always the case. They just made it explicit. He's always afraid of Evil Lynn because she's the one that can unseat him. So he wants he wants Evil Lynn close to him for that reason. That's always been kind of like the thing. They just took it to a slightly different direction last time, but that Hordak actually ends at the hands of Skeletor. That is new. Of course, this is something that Skeletor have always wanted.
Oh yeah,
clear about that, but he just hasn't always been able to, because between the two, Hordak was always the more powerful.
Yeah, and not only that, there's things that Hordak would do that Skeletor probably wouldn't. But yeah. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this goes because this starts in what, 3 days?
25th. It comes out in
3 days.
Release. So we have a few days.
Means I gotta get Netflix
ourselves
again. Well, at least I guess I can watch the Dave Chappelle and the Ricky Gervais special finally.
Andre, I won't be watching that. I'll be watching.
No, I'm not. You don't have to because I'm seeing it. You have to watch the stuff that I won't.
No.
You know what's sad is the one trailer doesn't even look that bad.
Yeah, well, the trailer for the first one looked fantastic.
Exactly.
It did.
And I like how He-Man looks in his battle damage armor and shit. Like, I'm glad they finally brought that to the animated screen. Like, so it's like he's tugging. It's like Kevin did a little research, or somebody did, but yeah, I'm not going to fall for it till I see it.
They really should have all the stuff they need on hand. I mean, you have like some really good, clever people behind the scenes there, and maybe what's his face, the guy who fucked up the previous season and who killed
Ted Biacelli.
Thank you, Ted Biacelli. Maybe they learned something and gave him less influence this time, because he's the one that fucked up last time, not Kevin Smith.
Bless you. I think that was Paul.
That was me. Sorry.
I thought so. All right. Well, with that, let's put a pin in the super chats for now, because I don't know how long we have our panel for, but I know we have a little bit of box office to talk about, and we have a story that Chris and the gang dropped here that I haven't even had a chance to read yet, but we're going to discuss it anyway.
See,
but first of all,
that sounds like a great
box office.
That sounds like a great band name. Chris and the gang.
What?
Chris and the gang.
Chris and the gang.
Chris and the gang. Great band. Yeah, we had not a very eventful weekend at the box office with a small gross from Mean Girls of about 11.7 million, bringing it up to 50 million domestic. Fell off about 59%. I don't imagine any of these films are going to have much more gas left in them. This is about
Kind of
what I
surprised Wonka
anticipated.
kind of petered off
Wonka's
there a
been
little bit.
sticking around.
It stuck around, but it kind of petered off here this last weekend. It looks like finally.
Yeah, it did. But I'm just happy that Beekeeper was able to bring in another 8 million, bringing the domestic total to 31 million. Because that's
and look at that hold. It's only dropped 49%. That's an amazing hold, and I'm so happy about it because Beekeeper is an amazing movie. Everyone should go see it.
And I think word of mouth is
the better it is.
Yeah,
I think word of mouth is what's carrying that film. And here's another thing that Amazon, MGM fucked themselves again with American Fiction because they released it wide last week, and look where it's sitting, way down below the top 10. Because when the hype for the movie was happening, they didn't drop it in any theaters, but like 5 in the whole country.
Oh
and
yeah,
now it's still lost its momentum now.
Yeah, well, it's still only in 850 theaters, U.S., which is or North America.
I can go see it now finally.
Yeah, it's silly. I mean, instead, they promoted the Disney Searchlight film.
Holy shit! The look at Queen, $2 million on only 387 screens on IMAX screens. Look at that.
Yeah, look at the theater per theater number 5.1, 5,100.
Jesus, that's the number one for the week per theater.
Yep, not bad. But I just Chris, I'm having a hard time getting excited to go see Poor Things. So
why? Okay. Let me pitch it to you this way, and I only noticed this because someone smart pointed this out to me during a live stream. It's Frankenhooker. The movie is. Are you familiar with Frank Henenlotter's film Frankenhooker? That's what Poor Things is. A creation, a bride of Frankenstein, so to speak, is created by God. Played by Willem Dafoe, who's a disfigured, weird-looking person himself. He's a scientist. A mad doctor creates this creation, and she discovers sex and then goes on a rampage, so to speak. So think of it as Bride of Frankenstein meets My Fair Lady by way of Frankenhooker. You gotta, I mean, look, it looks like Emma Stone. I mean, she won the Golden Globe. She won at the Critics' Choice Awards. She will probably win Best Actress
in the Oscars.
In the realm of like a fantasy world. It's sort of it's not like the 1800s, but it has a vibe that it is because there's weird futuristic stuff mixed with sort of a Victorian era 1800s goth, but it's all original. It's like throwing a bunch of stuff in a blender, but it totally works. So I think you would I think you're gonna enjoy parts of it, but not all of it. So but it's well worth seeing. So
what about the whole thing with the baby's brain though? Like that, the thing, like the daughter
that makes it really weird. That's why it explains why she's so childlike at the beginning. It's very dark. It happens in like the first.
That just sounds weird and pedophilic to me. I'm sorry, Chris. That's the problem I and many people have when you get to the whole point of this.
And your problem with that is what?
You're reading too much into it. It's sometimes you read too much. Look,
am I though?
Sort of like this is the thing. And I should tweet this at some point. There's a type of person that has a pair of glasses on that sees everything in the world as racist. Everything in the world is not racist, okay? And then there's a type of person that has glasses on that says everything is woke. This is woke. This is woke. I said this is woke. That isn't true either. So sometimes you have to take it for what it is on face value, and it'll provoke an interesting discussion. So open your mind, check it out. Watch Emma Stone naked, getting banged, and having a lot of sex. You won't hate it.
And if you don't want to see that, then check out Beekeeper, because that movie is freaking amazing and it needs to be supported.
Yes, I'm with you, Andre. Really fun movie.
Beekeeper is the movie to beat this year so far. I mean, I was blown away. It is so good. It starts out as John Wick with bees, but there's a twist in it, and man, does that go different directions. I mean, that movie is clever. It has subtext. You can interpret it in multiple ways and everything. had so much fun with Beekeeper. I can't wait to buy that thing in 4K in the most special edition I can get.
Holy smokes! Wow. That's
What?
what a review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at so I think what the box office has been telling me the last few weeks is that there's very little out there anybody's truly interested in, which is why Wonka is still in 3,100 theaters.
100%. 100%. Even
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, it's just January is just known
Always
for
dead.
dumb,
Always dead.
Like, we don't know what to do with this, but Beekeeper is the best film in January. If you are going to go to the movies, I mean, if you haven't already seen Godzilla -1, that's the other film that's still playing in theaters that is really worthwhile.
This weekend is so big for me to see -1 Color. I'm so excited.
Oh, yeah,
So,
same.
Yeah.
Could not be more excited. And every time I've gone to see the movie, and by the way, I've seen it like 5 times, but I've also snuck in and caught like the last like 20 minutes, probably 4 more times. Because I'm like, I just finished watching this movie. Where do I hear? Oh, there's the Godzilla score. And I just waltz right into that theater, find an empty seat. It's every time I see it, it's packed. I don't it's weird to me that they would even be pulling this film, because other films, if you look at the box office, I don't know why Godzilla just doesn't stay in theaters. The minus color thing, it is like, it'll be interesting. And I hope that when they put out the 4K that both versions are on one disc.
Can I say that for the doom of migration being projected rather early on, it's held on pretty well. It's got almost 100 million domestic. That's not terrible.
Oh, another pro tip here, hot tip. Just for we're doing a huge Dune Part 2 special on the Film Threat Livecast on Friday. Dune Part 1 is being re-released in theaters on Wednesday. It's playing a very limited number of IMAX screens. You can go to, I'll find the link. I'll find the link to be able to share it with people. So you get to see Dune Part 1, and a lot of people didn't get to see Dune Part 1 in a theater in IMAX because that was still sort of, that was also it was day and date on streaming on HBO Max, which was a huge mistake looking back. In any case, they're going to show a preview of Dune Part 2. The last time they did this, the audience got posters. They showed the first 10 minutes of the movie. Then they showed like another sort of montage of scenes. And then they had a little behind the scenes. It lasted like 30 minutes, the preview. So there's a preview of Dune Part 2 on top of Dune Part 1 in theaters.
Wow.
This Wednesday. I'll find the link to share with you all.
Are they going to let people go pee between events?
I don't know that, but I'll just wear adult diapers. I don't really care.
There you go.
That's the way to do it. But yeah, no. So just to, if you were not aware, you can do that. Let me find this link and share it with all of you. But yeah, and tickets are cheap. They were like $8. It wasn't like a normal ticket price.
Oh, nice.
So I private chat. There's the link. I'll just put it in the comments here.
I love listening to Chris type.
What? Oh, you can hear me type?
Yeah, we can.
I like turtles.
It was amazing.
Oh my God, sorry.
No, it was cool.
Yeah, I said that I wasn't going to be surprised that if Dune didn't get re-released again before the new movie come out. So I'm kind of glad to see Warner's doing that. Well, Legendary and Warner, whoever.
I think they have to.
Makes sense.
I think they have to. They really did kind of wreck its overall box office performance.
See, everybody keeps saying that, but the movie did very well. Why does everybody keep saying that? It's kind of like Godzilla versus Kong. Everybody's like, well, I don't know about. It's like, what world did you live in? Because both those movies came out in the middle of the pandemic, and both made $500 million.
It wasn't in the middle. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Okay, let's try again.
When did they come out? Go look again.
Wait, could it have done better
if they weren't in the middle of the pandemic and on HBO Max at the same time? Yeah,
right. Could it have done better if it hadn't been on HBO Max at the same time?
But the fact that they did that while being on HBO, I just said yes.
Okay, then that's it. Argument over.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. My point
No.
is how does it?
I would say this though, that in the case of Dune, yeah, obviously it could have done better if it wasn't on HBO Max. But actually, if we were completely honest, I think that bailed the movie out, that it did open day and date on both, because that gave it an excuse to get a sequel regardless of the box office. Because I don't know that movie would have done well enough to warrant a sequel if it weren't for the fact that it had the excuse of the HBO Max release. Because then basically they were like, we're just going to assume that this made more than $1 billion and make a sequel anyway. But in a completely normal situation, would that movie have done enough to warrant a sequel? I don't know that it would. And I'm excited to see if this one here, Dune Part 2, makes enough to warrant Dune Messiah. I hope it will. I sincerely hope it will.
So based on the box office, Andre, though, and again, this is just step back and look at this as a business person, and I know that most of us do. When you look at it, the film made less than $400 million globally. It had a pretty decent budget, close to 200 million, plus all the marketing materials that went out there, not just for the film itself, but also in promotion of HBO Max. As we've talked about before, streaming services aren't really built off of these movies or even the shows that they release. They're just built over time, people wanting to see a catalog of product. And you can't make an argument that it made Max more valuable, and you can't make it's hard to make an argument that there was reason to even make the second film. As a fan, I'm glad they're making the second film, but I'm going to say if this film doesn't get $700-800 million, they won't even consider doing the third film. There won't be a financial incentive there. In fact, what I'm afraid of is this film only pulls out about $600 million, and it proves me right in that, the first film really wasn't going to be the pull that it was.
That's my thought exactly as well.
Yeah.
I think that the first movie lucked out on being released that way because it gave an excuse for why it didn't have to perform any better and still get a sequel. I don't know that it would have gotten it if the market had decided. And I still don't know that we're getting a part 3 because now the market will decide.
Well, and this is a terrible year. Chris has been making this point, and I think Paul has. I know I have, and you guys have been. This year's going to be a terrible year at the movies. If we thought this year was bad, 2023, this last year, 2024 is going to be monumentally worse. This is going to be one of the worst box office years we've seen in 2 decades. Wow.
Yeah, but I still think there can be some great movies, though, even within that year. Certainly was off to an amazing start with Beekeeper, which I just can't shut up about because it was so good. So very, very good. But unless there is something else to say about the box office, we have many other things to talk about.
I'm just saying, I think Dune is going to be a bigger surprise than people think.
I hope so.
I'm just surprised at the lack of promotion of many films. For instance, there was the war film. Again, this was an end of 20. Oh, maybe it was the beginning of. Never mind. The one with the decrepit old Brit who's retiring. There's many of them.
Wait, are you talking about The Great Escaper with Michael Caine?
Michael Caine.
Yeah, I wanted to see that, but I couldn't find it anywhere.
No, there's just so many movies that quality. Like again, the one with Giancarlo or whatever.
Can I try and give you my theory behind it?
Why? Yeah. Why so little promo?
Well, because they got so burned on so many films that they promoted and then had to pull back and move because they had to push the film back. And they launched all these different campaigns. Indiana Jones is one of them. There were several films that were their release dates were pushed back even after their promo campaigns were running. They literally were blowing like films worth of budgets on these promo campaigns, and they were yielding nothing. In the case of Indiana Jones, when that's all said and done, that film will have probably been the greatest loser of all times, just between its combined budget, lack of performance in the theaters, lack of interest anywhere else, and the multiple ad campaigns they had to run. And I'm telling you, studios got burned on multiple. And I don't know, Chris, can you agree with that multiple studios got burned for running multiple campaigns on films they didn't get to release in time?
True. Yeah. I mean, the Marvels, they moved the date 5 times.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that's hard to promote.
Well, I think the one that I remember that suffered the most was probably Bond. Because Bond
was terrible.
They
my
twice they had to restart their campaign.
You run an Indiana Jones or a Bond campaign during the freaking Super Bowl, and you can't release that movie anywhere close to the Super Bowl. You're screwed. You're screwed.
Well, look at the Paul Giamatti movie. It didn't get any promo.
Was it an Amazon movie or something like that too? And I'm not so sure I'm not so sure they were expecting that to get in. It's either a streaming movie or they weren't expecting it to do what it did.
Well, the film that I'm disappointed in that didn't get the love was The Boys in the Boat, right? That should have gotten a lot more love, especially since I think it's Clooney's first real directing pass.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. It feels like a movie that was made in the 80s or 90s.
Clooney's directed. He directed that war movie.
Yeah, no, I'm saying
that like football film too.
I'm saying a real big film. That was terrible. Leatherheads was garbage.
Yeah.
It was not very good.
This was really, and again, it did feel like an 80s film. I was gonna stand on a desk and say, "My captain," "Oh captain, my captain." I'm just saying that's the era or the kind of feel that I think the film like that has. It just didn't belong now, and it didn't get any love. It might get some awards love though. Pretty good movie.
Actually, this might segue nicely into one of the other stories we have here, and that is that they're expecting Madam Web to bomb horribly.
Oh yeah,
and I can see that already because they have you noticed that Sony is doing Sony, as I was just about to say, Sony has done like zero promotion for this Madam Web thing, but they're promoting the shit out of Ghostbusters, which don't come out for another month and a half.
Yeah.
Well, they're putting their money where their product is. And I will say this, some of the released photos from Madam Web are not the best. They've been mocked relentlessly of how poor the compositing is and the weird angles they're on and the coloring. So yeah, Sony, I think, has kind of pulled back on what they want to do marketing-wise for Madam Web and has decided to reallocate some of that money to Ghostbusters because they feel more confident in that film. And that's I
think you're right.
That's very telling. Yeah,
I don't know. Madam Web is looking a lot like Ghostbusters 2016.
You're not wrong, and that's been a lot of the comparisons, Paul. Not so much direct comparisons, but just like this. And I've been saying this to people. They're like, a lot of people are like, no interest. I'm like, this is basically one of the girl movies that Amy Pascal wanted to make.
It is. Absolutely.
Is it?
I don't know if this one is specifically, but she was trying to push projects like this, and that's why I have a feeling that her stank is going to be all over this thing.
You know what the working title for Amy Pascal's girl boss Spider-Man team up movie was?
Glass Ceiling, something like that.
Glass Ceiling, yeah.
Are you joking?
Nope.
No.
Oh no, you didn't know that, Chris? Yeah.
I didn't know
she
that.
wanted to do an Agent Aunt May movie too.
Yeah.
And a Black and Silver, like Black Cat and Silver Sable team up she's been working on for years.
Silver Sable, yeah, something like that. She called it.
No, she's actually terrible for the brand. I mean, the only thing aside from maybe Dakota, whatever her last name is,
Fanning, the lesser of the Fannings.
Oh, wait a minute. No, you're talking about Johnson.
You're talking
Dakota
about
Johnson.
Johnson's kid.
Yeah, Dakota Johnson, who's in Madam Web.
Yeah, of course.
The other cast members are like the women that they picked aside from Dakota Johnson are actually really beautiful and
Sydney Sweeney,
competent actors. Yeah, but then you got the lead
and the lady that's playing O'Connor, she's a gorgeous young woman.
But you know what? Once you put all these nice young things together, it's one of my complaints. They all kind of merge together and don't look that different. This is a Hollywood trend. None of these young 5'2" things look different from each other enough. They're all young, same kind of age, all kind of pretty. And the thing is, there's you've got the star of the movie from 50, ways.
Yeah, we were just talking about her. She cannot act, which is sad because her pedigree, she should be able to.
Sure.
She's
And I
the
don't,
daughter of Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith. You think she'd
but
learn
you know,
something?
sometimes
neither of those could
it's
act
a
either.
generation.
Melanie Griffith's pretty good. Don Johnson just looks good. That's all he had to do.
Yeah. And so the point is, though, there's nothing intrinsically about that movie that on its face value wants me to go see it. However, for instance, I saw the trailer for the Orlando Bloom, Andy McDowell movie, Red Right Hand. I went, okay, yeah, I'm there. That looked amazing. It was just really interesting. The way they, had Andy McDowell as this very nicely coiffed, unbelievably evil bitch was just such a brilliant stroke of casting. And
Well,
to me,
and
that trailer looks great.
Yeah, and she's amazing. I mean, she's a high-end actress. So.
She is, but the thing is, she's playing against type. I get it. That was really clever. It makes me want to see the film. But there's nothing in the, Miss Spidery Poo that I really give, a flying foo about.
Well, I think that's kind of like the issue with this movie. This is the wrong movie at the wrong time, because now the audience have finally had enough of the MCU. And we saw this very, very clearly with The Marvels and how everyone rejected that movie, especially women. More than anyone else, it was the female audience that didn't show.
And you know who's happy, Andre?
Well, do share.
Warner's, because they've basically played out all their old movies.
I don't know that they really are so happy about it either, because here's like the thing: the DC movies, I submit that they were always artificially floated by the success of the MCU, because the MCU,
I agree,
when it was so good, created so much goodwill. But now when the MCU is floundering and people are getting burned off of the comic book movies in general, because they're all crap now, both the old DC movies as well as the current MCU movies. That is not a great place to be for James Gunn.
No, and I actually did a video on the fact that James Gunn not only has to save Warner's, he has to save the MCU.
Yeah, exactly.
I made a case for that. Now he has got a huge responsibility because he has to resurrect the entire concept of the superhero genre. And he's got to save the MCU also. That's a huge.
And the problem is that here, because this movie right here is going to make it more difficult for him. This movie right here is going to make it more difficult for Deadpool. It's going to make it more difficult for James Gunn. Honestly, for the good of the industry, I think that Sony, of course, Sony's not going to take the hit. But if the industry was like one company, if it was just like one entity, thinking let's all do jointly what is good for the industry, then if we're honest, Sony needed to take one for the team and scrap this entire movie and never release it.
Well, this thing has Amy Pascal stink all over it.
Movie. Yeah, exactly, and that's the
this is like
that's needed.
She was like sitting down going, "The Spider-Verse is very popular. How can I do that with girls?"
Yeah.
And she's been trying to like obfuscate the line between Marvel and Spider-Man for years. With
There'll be adjuncts to it.
Bullshit. So like, if you don't think that's how she really sounds, guys. She sounds like she's 3 sheets to the wind and had too many pills all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true.
And this movie right here, it's another girl-heavy Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man that's going to go back and rewrite the past and be confusing in terms of where it takes place and everything. It's probably going to be complete shit. And it's the absolute last movie anyone needs right now. This is the worst movie for Marvel and for DC and for comic book and for the industry in a whole. This is the kind of movie that really needed to be scrapped and never released.
But this is okay. What I don't understand is that right now, in the state that the movie business, the superhero movie genre is in, you need to go back to the OGs. You need to go back to the Captain Americas, the Supermans, the Batman. You need Iron Man, and no one cares about the new Captain America. No one cares about any of the, except for Deadpool, these alternate shitty universes that MCU is trying to convince us is of any value. I don't get it. Like, how do you run a place and go, oh my God, we better get back to we better get back to first base and start this thing again with our OG characters. Even resurrect T'Challa, for crying out loud. You know,
Well,
the
when
one
they
really
made these
good
decisions, the Marvels wasn't out yet.
And I've been saying that for a while too, Paul. I've been saying it for quite a long time. But the thing is we're going to have to see if the superhero genre hasn't been damaged beyond repair when Superman comes out.
correct.
Because that's pretty much the next thing on the docket that has any of the main A-list superheroes in it. And if that can't really drum up any interest, then the superheroes genre could be considered dead.
Well,
be
for a
mothballed,
while.
unless everybody unleashes their A-list again and in good movies, only then can we really judge the genre being dead or not. Giving us these B, C, and D lists.
That's my point, Paul. That's
shit
exactly what I'm saying.
It is not going to either help or is going to give us any kind of trajectory as to whether that's true or not.
There's only a few characters that you can pull out of and say, this is kind of a litmus test.
Yeah.
And we've already had one of them, and that was the Batman. The Batman was a sign that the fact that it didn't make $1 billion on the heels of the Joker making $1 billion was proof that DC had destroyed their brand image.
It didn't do horribly.
And the same thing, no, it didn't do horribly, but it underperformed to
Sure.
expectations. And that's what I kept trying to tell people is it was such a mixed message to the studio that was part of the reason they just decided to scrap everything that came before, because they're like, well, enough people went to see this new Batman movie, but not enough people went to see it for us to really want to continue from here. So that's why the Penguin's going to be kind of a test. The Batman 2 is supposed to be happening, but it hasn't started shooting yet. So we'll see how that rolls. But, and James Gunn's threatening all kinds of weird shit, just like not to jump to that other story, but might as well bring it up. The whole Superman thing with J.J. Abrams again. I don't know what fucking pictures J.J. has of him, but Jesus, like, what the hell? Like, I thought this thing was dead in the water because they had told J.J. to go fuck himself.
Is this a quote from his threads or Twitter or Instagram? Like, where? Because I was trying to find on the socials where James Gunn was confirming this.
Well, let's have a look at the story where
I guess it was on Threads, but he also got busted on Threads with not changing his account before he praised himself. I don't know if y'all saw that.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that was kind of stupid of him. But yeah, according to him, he just says yes, that it's still in the works.
Baloney.
So
All he says
would
is
have
yes,
been,
and
this would
that's
have been on Threads, yes.
Yeah.
It could still be in the works. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like that's exactly though my point, Paul, is once we start to get some of the A-list comic book heroes, then we'll see how bad the damage is. Superman's the next one we got. But speaking of damage,
Deadpool is the big one. Then
Deadpool is kind of an anomaly. He's a side piece, basically.
Wow.
Like, really, it's
Yes, but
true.
he is also the biggest Marvel movie coming this year.
It's the only
Superman
thing
is
Marvel's
next year.
got coming out this year.
That's what I mean. The only and the biggest. Because, yeah, it's the only MCU movie, but there's 2 other Marvel themed
And it's still not directly MCU.
There'll be adjuncts to it.
Exactly, but to the public at large, Marvel is Marvel.
Oh, I'm not arguing with you there. But
But this is what she thinks is the proper attire and state of being when she does a press thing. This was for No Way Home.
Yeah,
she was.
Are you
there.
serious?
Yeah,
Yep.
She's a nut bar.
She looks like a homeless beggar. She looks like a hobo that they just brought in from the street.
She's the type of a vagrant you'd see in Little Jamaica in northern Toronto, walking around looking for change.
They sent her packing so hardcore, even though they knew they were stuck with her for Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
They still publicly dismissed her in a way that was very
she's the living embodiment of Fraggle Rock character as a human.
One of them.
No. At least the Fraggle Rock people are trying to do good things for the world.
Oh,
wow. Don't make me take all over my keyboard, please. Do not do that.
Sorry.
My God, I just had to get another keyboard. You're going to make
I
me.
just have to say that when I was growing up in Norway in the 80s, Fraggle Rock was actually the only thing
Yeah.
American produced that
Good
was
socialist
allowed for
entertainment.
children entertainment.
Excuse me, Canadian produced. It was done in Canada.
That explains it.
Oh, it
That
does.
explains it,
Oh.
of course, because the reason that Fraggle Rock was allowed is because they were good socialists. So, of course, it had to come from the People's Republic of Canada. So
It was
the reputation that nothing American was allowed.
Well, we weren't the People's Republic of
It makes
Canada
some
back
sense.
then, though.
It was actually it was a show that he pitched in the United States and nobody wanted because it was too weird.
Oh,
And
that
so the
explains it.
CBC bought it, and there are a lot of good Canadians learned how to write on that show.
Yeah, there you go.
Like you?
No, I didn't. I was never on that show, but I had friends on it.
Yeah,
All right.
cool. Very cool.
Well, then I can't. I won't say bad things because I.
But yeah,
I
but
love-
before we move on,
was a
here,
great show.
we're getting requests from the chat. If Chris is still here, and Chris, how excited
I'm
are
here.
you for Madam?
Well, I
Web?
did that on purpose because we're gonna wake him up.
I don't
Oh
care.
wait,
about
we have to actually cover this guy in the reporting, the amazing reporting of.
Well, and that's what I was
That
segueing
is
to here,
next.
actually,
Yeah.
because I said I hope he's
The
awake.
D-file.
Yeah.
The D Files Part 2.
Ooh.
A
I
great
just got a
mouse
preview.
reset.
I just got a preview of what part 3 is going to be. It's insane.
That's what I
Wow.
was
It's all
hoping
leading-
for. What can you share about part 3 so far? Can we get a mild spoiler?
I'd rather not because we have to confirm things and whatnot. But it's just some horrible policies that are throughout the company that just affect everything and make it just a toxic work environment where I'll just say that the HR department are bullies. They actually enjoy being cruel to people. It's the weirdest thing. That is a consistent thing with everything we get. But yeah, I don't know if part 3 drops this week or next, but it's all leading towards Wish and kind of where we are now. And I think it's going to go at least a couple months. But we do have another story that's dropping this week, which is after the WGA, there was the open letter from the WGA writer. Well, we got a bunch of people that sent us confirmation and more information about it. And we're just going to compile those letters as a follow-up. So I think I'm doing that story actually. So there you go. But yeah, no, this is, I don't know how you save Disney at this point. It really does at this point need a Elon Musk Twitter purge of like fire a lot of people and you can rehire people back, but I don't see a way to change. It's in the culture, and to change it is just, that's a pivot that you're either going to do what Elon did, which was rip off the Band-Aid, and you saw immediate changes at Twitter, immediate. And then also it acknowledged the bloat. There's a tweet that's been going around. I quote tweeted it and commented. It's my most recent tweet at that Chris Gore, my personal Twitter.
The one about Godzilla?
The one about Godzilla. So I met that Godzilla director. Alan and I both met him at the Critics' Choice Awards. Unfortunately, he didn't win. But what's interesting is this. He is a VFX supervisor. He also, in addition to directing the movie, he worked out on the effects directly. So you've got the director telling you what the vision is, not a committee telling you what the vision is, if that makes sense.
Kind of like how movies used to be made.
Yeah. Right. Movie used to be made. There was the director, which was George Lucas for Star Wars. It was his vision. And along with people he trusted, it was very efficient. And this is the thing. I mean, I worked in the corporate world. The most recent corporate gig I had was in 2018. I quit and never looked back. I will never work for a company. I will never, ever work for a company that is so large that they have a human resources department, or that they're company politics. I can't stand it. I hate it. I've worked for big companies before, whatever. I just never again. But it's that bloat. It's that, and this is what they say, they talk about when you are working on projects. Like even when I was working on Attack of the Dock, we had these little animated sequences that we did, and we had like other things. And the company I was talking to, they're like, well, what are your layers of approval? And I'm like, it's just me. And they're like, hey, we need this approved. I said, I had like one note, sent it back. They sent it back, changed with the one note. We were done like in a day. It was like, it's so weird how like these companies are like, oh, you mean there's not like 5 people that have to have notes and we're going to do 3 different versions? It's like, no, it's just me. So my feeling is, my gut tells me on Godzilla, it was the director that just said, yeah, we'll do this. And it was a team of 35 people. That was it. Against, with better special effects than, you know, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I mean, which had 1,000 people. And a lot of those are titles. Does anyone believe that Victoria Alonso ever did any special effects? She was in charge of them, but she never, ever did a special effects shot. And I'm going to guess also that in her entire career, she never created a special effects shot for a movie.
Probably not.
Yet she is in charge of special effects. If you got to put, this is why, this is one of the many reasons I love James Cameron. James Cameron on a film set could do every single job on the film set better than the person doing that job because he's done that job. That philosophy, that mindset is something that I try to take to my own work, right?
Yep.
Like I've worked, I've done DVDs. I've produced DVDs. I've done the jobs, all the jobs that involve making a DVD. The reason that this is a very useful skill to acquire is no one can tell you that can't be done because you yourself have done that job. So what you've got is you've got executives who've never worked in the trenches. They're just like, well, this person said it would take 10 days. So I guess it takes 10 days. No, it doesn't. And there's also simpler ways to do it. You know,
it's not just that, Chris. It's a question of getting an appreciation for the different divisions and people that are required to produce these things. So I've done 3D. I did a video game, you know, designed parts of it. I learned lighting from Emil Kolompar, who did all the lighting work for the Czechoslovakian Pavilion at Expo 67. You know, I learned to cut film on film. I learned editing on a Sony 9000. I mean, it's like I wanted to touch every aspect of the business. I literally flew down to LA to find out how you guys lit sitcoms differently and what was required. And everybody was very, very giving. The number of people who don't want to learn any of this stuff, don't understand, I mean, can't direct. I mean, the really good directors, as you mentioned with Cameron, and yeah, Cameron is an exceptional gearhead, but most directors I've met want to know a whole bunch of this stuff, right?
Well, Chris is right. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with Cameron, but the thing with him is not only does he know everybody's job on the set, he can do it better than you.
Probably.
That's exactly
No,
what
I'm not even kidding. That is what everybody says about him.
But the point of having done that job, this is why mentoring in entertainment is so important. This is why you don't take someone like you're the identity of the person we'd like to represent this thing. You are now in charge of X. No, it's a lifelong learning thing. I talked to I had a buddy who years ago worked at Amblin, and he said that when Spielberg is like in between movies, he is always watching other movies because he wants to learn. Being in film is if you want to get better at what you do, especially in entertainment, it's a lifelong learning. Even Spielberg is not above the thinking that, well, I've learned everything, I don't need to continue. No, he's watching other people's films because he wants to learn things. He wants to grow. This is why I think, honestly, you need 10 years before you really get a significant credit. Whether you're a screenwriter, whether you're fresh out of school, you're in your early 20s, give it a decade of learning. Then you've earned a place in the room. Then you've earned a place on the team. Then you've earned a place. That sort of mentoring and passing down knowledge, it's been lost, but it's because of this weird rush to diversify everything, which you know, I guess you could argue in spirit that's a good thing. Okay, fine, but that you're not doing people a service by only using that as a criteria for elevating people to certain positions. That's a mistake. It's a huge mistake. So,
Well,
you know, I believe, you know what, you got to mentor. You've got to learn the craft, and you've got to learn different. Also, it's okay to there's a lot of positions that seem sexy. They're not always the right job or fit for your personality. Maybe you work in the industry, know what? I love being a publicist. Okay, fine. That's a fine job to have. Or I like working in the marketing department, or I like working in with the gaffers and the lighting and just the tech stuff. I love the tech stuff. Like you need to be on a film set and kind of find your groove.
Well, there's a big problem with the fact that there's an oversaturation with delegation. There's so many partnerships that are being brought in where it's like, we're just going to delegate you to oversee this. And then inside that delegation, there's countless other delegations to do each individual things. So what you end up having is basically an elaborate telephone game where you're not getting the proper context of what the source creative team wants as a result, because it's going through so many different channels. And the other part too is Hollywood hates people that have more than one job title when it comes to stuff that in the industry. They don't like it because basically the conflict is going to be that person who has experience in those other jobs is probably going to point out, correct, or suggest improvements to the other person that's doing the job. And then that's going to cause friction. And they want to avoid that because, Hollywood cares more about creating drama on the screen as opposed to behind the scenes. And it really is counterintuitive because you really do need filmmakers, whether they're screenwriters, editors, directors, actors, and so forth, to understand all aspects as they can of the industry so that they can work in better unison. And what has killed me over the last decade is that I have met up-and-coming directors who only care about the actual production of the shoot. They don't care about post. They don't care about prep. And they don't care about special effects. They just want to be on set, yelling those words, action cut, and giving direction, and then go to parties and let someone else take care of whatever they shot and put it into a movie form. And it's led to this type of problem. It's really terrible. And this is happening on the independent side of things, as well as the foundational stages of people gaining entry into the industry. It's all over the place. It's not limited to just mainstream Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a, there just used to be this. I mean, I think like college is pointless for certain types of careers. It's really to just hold you back until you become a mature human being. And
test you to see if you have the fortitude for it. That's the other part. Like that's
correct,
what we learned in our things.
Can you meet deadlines? Can you follow instructions? Can you take on larger and larger tasks? Are you open to ideas, even those that challenge your own? At least that's what college was like when I was in college. And I'm a college dropout, to be clear. I make no bones about it. I was stretched thin. I had 3 jobs working my way through college.
Some of the smartest people I know and some of the most successful people I know are college dropouts.
Well, except for Chris.
Except for me, but everyone else. But no, I'm saying
some of the best entrepreneurs I've met are college dropouts.
Well, I mean, to tell my story real quick, I just was frustrated because I was 19. I had newspaper routes. Okay. It only took me an hour a day. It was good exercise. And I made a good chunk of money. Then I worked restaurants on weekends. I was a dishwasher and I worked at a video store. Okay. But I wasn't like, I'm like, what do I need to do to make money so that I can afford to go to college? So I can pay I think at the time that I was going, it was maybe $3,000 a semester. I went to Wayne State University in Michigan. But what I began to notice after 2 years of college was, so I pay you money for tuition. I buy the books, which are prohibitively expensive. They were like $60 at the time. That was a lot of money. And then I just read the book, which I could do on my own. And then I regurgitate the contents of the book as proof that I have read the book. And then we have a discussion about it. How about I just buy the books? So no, I'm being serious.
I know those types of programs. I never subscribed to any of them because those
So I went I have an uncle who lived in California. We went on a trip to visit him. My mother and my sister and I went on this trip, visit my uncle. And I said, we went to Universal Studios and the Walk of Fame. I want to do one thing. one thing: take me to the campus of USC, because USC Film School, that's where George Lucas went.
Right.
And there's currently, by the way, there is a George Lucas like building with a statue of him there.
They'll get rid of that soon.
They'll tear it down someday.
For sure.
But before that, I just said, that's where George Lucas went. I want to go to that school. And I could never afford to go, but I did go to the campus, went to the campus bookstore, looked at all the film books, bought as many as I could. And then I wrote down the titles of the books I couldn't afford at the time or fit in my luggage. And I was like, I'm just going to read all these books. And I decided to drop out of school and just read books. I know that sounds weird. I don't recommend it if you're going to get in the medical field, but that is what I did. And then I read a book on how to start a magazine. So it was that was very expensive. It was like $200 for this book.
And that's where you learned the term net 30.
Right, net 30. Yeah, exactly.
So Chris, you're partially right. And when people come to me and they say, well, should I go to school for filmmaking? I tell them, no, you go to school for connections. So if you're in Kansas, don't take the community college course on how to do films. Go to the biggest, whether it's New York or LA or Florida or wherever it happens to be, the school that can make you connections, because your cohorts will rise along with you and you'll give each other jobs.
Right.
That is the key. Go to school for connections. This is what I don't understand. I went to some community state college and we did some Super 8 stuff and nothing came of it. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Go to school for connections. That's what it's for. That's the only thing it's good for.
Yeah, most of my connections I made in college were from my teachers and cohorts afterwards. Like, that's just what it is. My teachers were actually people in the industry working on television shows and things, and they have hired me before.
What about the legendary group that came out with George Lucas? You had Coppola, you had Lucas, Spielberg. Who else came out of that cohort?
De Palma.
I mean, that's the key. That is really, really important. So the school itself, forget it. Make connections, get laid.
This is all solid, very solid advice that I fully condone, especially that latter part. I mean, you have to, no, I'm serious. I mean, you might meet your future partner at
you could.
a specific place like this. So many people do. But we have had the D-Files Part 2 on screen for quite a while now, and we haven't really spoken about it. So, Chris, of course, you have discussed this in many streams the last few days, and so has your partner in crime, Al Ling, who even wrote the article.
Yes.
But for those who haven't seen it yet, because I haven't gotten around to doing a video on this just yet, that is coming, maybe even later today. But can you give us the highlights? What did you go through in the D-Files Part 2, The Great Mouse Reset?
Oh my God. I whenever like a story is done, I'm like, I'm not thinking of it. I'm like on to the future stuff. But basically, this is all about Lassiter and the shift in power. This particular story focuses on the making of Raya and the Last Dragon. This is where things start to fall apart, where they brought in a very inexperienced filmmaker to be the co-director of the movie who'd never done animation, which makes no sense. This is where, like,
the guy who left later.
Yeah, but this is, it shows how, how poor the ideas were and the thinking was, is like, we'll just bring in the guy from Crazy Rich Asians because, Asians. No, I'm being serious.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think he eventually left the project, but Alan goes into detail in this story, but he's trying to go chronologically from like when things began to go awry, bringing it up to the present. And this part 2 of the D-Files shows where things went wrong. It was really about a shift in power, and then goes into the organization WIA, which is Women in Animation. And really, it was just a power grab. It was this like we don't want Lassiter. We don't want people who look like Lassiter. We want more people from WIA. And it was a matter of bringing in people and hiring your friends. That's where it's like, look, and I'll be honest, like Paul, I half agree with what you said there. Like, you know, you make friends and then you hire your friends. I only hire my friends if they can do the job.
No, of course.
I have a lot of friends that I would never hire to work on Film Threat, or even friends I've worked with on film projects in the past. And I'm like, well, you know, initially brought you in because you're a friend. I want to remain your friend. Found out we can't work together. I'm really cold when it comes to that stuff. I hate to say that. I'm very, very just like, I hire the most talented people. And that I usually what I do is I like to hire talented people to work with, and we eventually become friends. I mean, I knew Alan before we started working together. I became friends with Alan after we were working together, right?
Right.
So, but initially it was like, oh, this guy is a very good writer. Like,
Well, idiots are going to attract other idiots, and people who have any kind of sense of pride are going to hire other people of the same ilk, right?
Right. But I mean, you do that is an important thing though, because like making entertainment projects, it's so stressful. Can you hang with someone and after the 18th hour of still working and you're staying up late or whatever, it's a night shoot. You're not at each other's throats. You're just making jokes. That's why a film set, some people just can't hang on a film set. You know, I mean, like also, I mean, if you look at my latest tweet, the one about Godzilla, I was going through the comments. Someone mentioned that a recent credit in a movie, God, I forget which movie, but it's in my comments, or it's in the comments to my post, said there was a safe space coordinator. That was an actual credit on a movie. I gotta find it. But it's in my comments. Safe space coordinator. Do you ever look? I mean, when it comes to the Marvel movies and the big special effects movies, I feel like what they should do is just say, you know what? Here's the credits, but here's a link to download the PDF of the credits for this movie, because it's 300 pages. When you see,
well, now isn't that a union thing now, Chris? From my understanding,
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt you there. I was just gonna say, I think it's like, yeah, it's not like we have a choice, but yeah, you're right. We have to sit through literally 15 minutes of credits in most movies now. And I remember when Lord of the Rings had such long credits, everybody's griping. It's like, no, most movies have that longer credits now.
Yeah.
I just watched Kong and Godzilla, the legendary ones recently, and there's like 13, 14 minutes of credits on the end of those movies.
Yeah, it's just when you look at the Marvel movies and you see I've taken pictures of it before, because it's just a block of text of people's names in alphabetical order, and it makes no sense. All those people were full time. Are this in every freelance?
Oh no, of course they weren't full time.
Right, but like it's so much. It's crazy.
No, you're right though, Chris. It's like anybody who sneezes within the vicinity of the production of the film gets a credit now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's yeah. So I don't know. I feel like the thing is that, you know, any successful business needs a process. And for example, this is why, God, I read a book about this years ago, but it's like, if you develop a process, that process, because I'm actually, as weird as this sounds, I've applied this to Film Threat. We actually do have a process of how we do things when like a filmmaker wants to have their movie reviewed at Film Threat. We have a submission page, and you go to the, like anyone can send us a movie, and we get like,
and you have to get on all fours and put a dog collar on.
No, but like
not that kind of submission.
We get more than 200 movies submitted to Film Threat on a monthly basis, and we review less than half. Okay, but we have a process, right? So I read this book that explained like the McDonald's, and if you don't need to read the book, you can just see the movie The Founder with Michael Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
He created this
Great
process.
movie.
Well, how do I do this? It was like kind of how fast food was evolved, right? Like, how do I make like a delicious tasting cheeseburger, but develop a process so that it's fast? It's not a sit down restaurant, you know, it's quick. And I think that you know, you need a process. Any successful, you know, independent film studio, or even like a filmmaker. That's the thing that I'm always interested in. And script, I'm sure you get into this. Whenever I talk to like any creative, I'm like, well, what is your process? Like, what is it? Is it like freaking George Lucas writes on legal pad by hand? I'm amazed at that. Or like, I get up at, you know, 5 a.m. I write for 3 hours. I have breakfast at 8 a.m. I'm done for the day. You know, like, it's weird. And I love that kind of, I love hearing what people's processes are. We've created a process that's focused on the wrong things, which is safe spaces and COVID compliance and DEI and intimacy coordinator. These are grifts. These are grifts. Those aren't real jobs. They don't contribute to making the movie. This is why people like, you know, like Steven Soderbergh or Chris Nolan are like, I don't know if I want to be in this industry if I'm having all these rules enforced on my creative process. My process is my process. Leave me alone and let me do the work. And the studios are enforcing this and more rules. And then you've got, you know, the WGA and all their nonsense and this rule and this union. How do you make a movie? You make it with a small group of like-minded creative people, period. And that's how Godzilla -1 is not just one of the best films of the year. It's probably the greatest Godzilla movie ever made that embodies the themes of the original Godzilla, pays tribute to the original 1954 movie, and is a movie that is a contender for Best Picture or Best Foreign Film. So, I mean, I would like to see it win something. But but it's, you know, the last 2 years, my two favorite films have not been American-produced movies. Last year it was RRR, check your bingo card, and then Godzilla -1. So there you go. So the process is broken, and I am sort of like I don't want to get into too much inside baseball stuff, but I have like a whole weird process, and this is after years of doing this, because you know, like after decades, like, well, that didn't work. How do I do this and not go out of business? Film Thread has gone out of business like 4 or 5 times, where it's just like, I don't have money to do this magazine. Like, I have to cease publication until I figure out something. And then there's like, you know, I mean, we were like a newsletter, then newsprint, then a national magazine. Then I sold it to Larry Flint. Then I got the rights back. Then there was a paper crisis. And then the internet came along. I did an email newsletter that went out to 100,000 people. Then I became one of the very first movie websites in 1996, you know, when there were very few of them. And then that format changed from web to, I mean, like, I'm serious. I could go through the whole thing. But everything I learned was like, we have to create a process for this to work. And, you know, understand that relationship between advertising and influence, right? Like that is like also an important relationship.
Wow, 96. No one was online in 96.
Well, we had the Film Threat website launched in 1996.
Well, I'm just saying there was very few people to actually read it, though.
Well, true.
I was there. I even read like Ain't It Cool News and News Askew and all that stuff. Yeah. Actually, that's probably how I found you in the first place, Chris.
Yeah.
Maybe more so.
Dark
Actually, I forgot. It was Kevin Smith, because you had Ingram was on one of the commentaries, and I think he
and
clued me into
moviepoopshoot.com.
Yeah, moviepoopshoot.com. Yep.
Quite the title.
Well, it was from Jay and Silent Bob movie, and they actually made it a real website for a while.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the stipulations nowadays. If you mention a fictional
.com
website on TV or film, you have to register it right away, so you have ownership rights of it, and use it as part of your advertising and marketing to your film and television show. Conan O'Brien did that for weeks on his show. He kept on making up websites that NBC had to buy.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, no, it's look, and as we've said before with the first part, it's not like we're surprised by a lot of these things that we're hearing, but it's nice to finally have some sort of not necessarily confirmation, because that's the thing that I think is most important is, do you think we're going to get to a point, Chris, where people come out a little bit more formally? I would say, I guess, is the best way to put it, because I think that's the big thing, is you got a lot of anonymous people here, but
this is the thing. And this is why I'm surprised about this. Like, ultimately, Film Threat shouldn't even be doing stories like this. We've done investigative journalism in the past, but it's really because none of the mainstream media outlets would write these stories, because if you look at the trades, they're mostly rewritten press releases. That is the majority of content in a trade publication. When someone makes an announcement, if Warner Brothers is going to make an announcement, they go to the Reporter, Deadline, The Wrap, Variety. They go to those sources because they're an outlet, they're a mouthpiece. That's why they advertise with them. So they have the influence, right? So advertising is about influence. So Warner Brothers congratulates Margot Robbie on her performance in Barbie as a way to promote vote for her for the Oscars. Oscar nominations come out, by the way, tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Alan Ing and I, if you want to join us on the live stream, Alan Ing and I will be up bright and bushy-tailed 5 a.m. where we're going to go over the Oscar nominations and react to them live. So check out Film Thread live tomorrow with Alan and I, really freaking tired. And we're going to watch them together. But they spend, so the studios spend money with the trade publications who are then influenced. And then what do they write about? They write about movies that the studios make. Does that surprise anybody? No, they're not writing about Attack of the Dock, which is a little small indie movie, because I didn't give them money. Money is influence in all things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I just look at this. I try to create a process so that I can just stay in business. There's a reason I don't have a butler or a large mansion, but I've somehow survived and gotten at least to a point where, I can speak freely without fear of being fired or fear of being canceled, because Film Threat's not going to fire me. So there you go. Same thing with Alan. Alan and I are very much on the same page about a lot of stuff, but we disagree about movies. But that's the fun of doing all this stuff. But yeah, it's pretty much, we're going to go through in the D files all the Pixar movies leading up to Wish, or Pixar films, and then Disney animation, and then leading up to Wish, because that's the one that just sort of broke. I think it just broke a lot of people. But to your point, your question there, Tom, I don't know that the Reporter or Variety will report on this until there's a reason that the studios would want people to know this, meaning they're about to lay off a bunch of people or lay off people in certain departments, and they have to give a statement, because I feel if people don't speak out, the industry is going to be hobbled and destroyed.
Well, that was kind of more so my question is,
right.
I'm not so much talking about the mainstream media, but the people who are actually making these claims, right? Because I've talked to people before, like I said, too, and I even kind of said, yes, I know Raya was a big deal, but I think that the ground zero for this, from what I was being told before, because this was years ago now, was Brave, because the individuals that were behind Brave did not like how Lasseter had come in and basically said, this sucks, you need to redo it, this sucks, you need to redo it.
They got rid of the director. They replaced the woman director.
And all that kind of crap. So that was where I think a lot of that was like ground zero, like when she was fired or whatever, that like pissed them all off, which would be the wokey tards or whatever you want to call them in the inside. And yeah, they just slowly, systematically Me Too'd him out through claiming he's a drunk and he's too handsy and whatnot and whatever. Sure, he may drink a little bit or whatever, but there's a lot worse shit that people do in Hollywood. Well, I mean, I honestly have never heard one bad story about John Lasseter. So like, I can't. Yeah,
you've heard the sort of general behavior that is correctable. That is correctable.
Exactly.
Believe me, the fact that you're learning this about Lasseter, trust me, there are people currently working that are worse. There are people currently working
exactly
worse with different types of habits. Maybe it's not drinking, but maybe it's other drugs of choice. Hollywood is a cesspool. Okay. A cesspool. So let
me add one addendum to what you just said.
Please.
If someone actually thought that a mid-level or high-level executive was valuable, you might not really know how much effort a corporation puts in to rehabilitate and get that person working. So one individual I just happened to meet in the dog park, because you talk to people, is a super high-level super HR person. I've never heard of this kind of category, but this guy was hired by Fortune 100 companies to go in and rehabilitate either assholes, alcoholics, women or men, mostly men, who are like just on some crazy jag because they got divorced, and he would fix them. He said the hardest ones were narcissists, but because the corporations put so much money into this C-level person, maybe for decades, it was better to send them off to some drug rehab in the middle of Muskoka, Canada, for a month than to fire them. And I had no idea there was an industry like this. It's huge. And they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to rehabilitate their executives that they've invested money in. The fact that, you know, Lassiter, I mean, based on what you've talked about, has a certain kind of picadillos, it doesn't seem that, you know, and maybe it came through stress or whatever it happened to be, that they did not put any kind of effort to save this key asset. That to me is telling.
That's what I kind of saying, Paul, is they could have, you're right. They could have, it's not like none of Lassiter's problems were unfixable, right? It's not like anything
but my point is
was
that
actually even fire-worthy.
Out there,
They just gave up on him.
that.
Exactly.
That's the point I was trying to add.
And no, and I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying, and that's just it. They gave up on him. They didn't, this was all orchestrated to make him look bad from the start, right? Because these things weren't a problem before, were they? And hell, if I had to work for Bob Iger, I'd probably drink too.
Well, I you know, first of all, Paul, you describing that, it sounds like a really cool TV show. That
you know what? You're right. It would be.
The guy whose job is that, and like the team that he works with, the inside look at the process every week or through the season. There are different challenges.
Yep.
There's a Bob Iger type, you know what I mean? There's a, like, that's a good script doctor. Like, what do you think? I think it's a good concept.
What do you think, script?
The question is, do you want to do it as completely fictional based on supposed real events, or just a reality TV show? which would be your direction?
You can never do it as a reality show,
No.
let's be honest. But you could do that as like a drama series. I could see that on Max.
Yeah.
I could see
Yeah,
that
it seems like a very, like, yeah, like a, almost like a Game of Thrones in corporate America kind of
Well,
thing.
the guy who did Yellowstone,
Taylor Sheridan.
Oh, now you're gonna get script going.
Oh, what is it?
It'd be too soap opera-y if he did it.
Yeah,
Well, but
he's
it
being
can't be-
nice
it
to him
can't be
today.
like
I'm surprised.
Succession.
Sorry, yeah, it can't be like Succession, is what you're saying.
It's
Paul,
got to
yeah.
be more clinical.
Yeah.
and based on the individual's picadillos, right?
It'd be like a David E. Kelly type show.
Well, I mean, didn't HBO already do this with In Treatment way back in the day?
Kind of like Mad Men meets.
With I don't know the show there, Culture.
Yeah, that thing went on forever.
Looney Tunes?
Was it a reality show?
No, it was on HBO. It was it was like four or five seasons way back when.
Well,
It's kind of, it's a psychotherapy show, but I mean, you could adapt that same kind of thought to the various mental health issues that are related to addiction and stuff, or just bad behavior in Hollywood. It wouldn't be that hard, I don't think.
There's the name of your show, Bad Behavior in Hollywood. And it's all, no, I'm serious. And it's all from the perspective of like a shrink who talks to all these fucking people in Hollywood, and he gets to inundated daily with this crap, and he wishes he could fucking tell everybody, but he can't. But he knows all the dirty secrets in Hollywood.
Well, and the way he had to overcome the division or the distrust between himself as someone flown in to deal with him. Those stories he told were just fantastic. The scary story, the people who are out there, broken human beings running multi-trillion-dollar corporations. Yeah, well, yeah, maybe we got something there.
I think that's a funny idea. So yeah, Chris, I don't know how much longer we have you for here, but was there any other
10 minutes?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you're pretty low on time, but so you got a couple super chats I want to grab for you before you go, but let's real quick, was there any final thoughts or revelations in D-Files Part 2 that stuck out to you that you wanted to highlight before we move on?
Just the women in animation and how it was really a power grab. It wasn't for anytime you see anytime you see some sort of virtue signal, like, oh, we're trying to do this, we're trying to diversify, it's a power grab. That's what's really coming to light. And you'll see with examples that this is all about grabbing power and certain organizations coming in. It was really like after Lasseter left, there was a power vacuum, and then the vultures came out. And that's what is the beginning of that story in the second part. And the third part will elaborate on
So
that.
I have two questions for you, Chris. Number
Sure.
one, are you enjoying doing this? Number two, has this had an effect on Film Threat? Has it widened your reach?
I don't know. I think more people are aware. I mean, Film Threat also is, I started it in 1985. So we've gone through various stages. And also
Sure.
I was learning as I was doing it. I was learning on the job. So
Well, we all do.
I've made my share of mistakes. And as I was talking about earlier, Film Threat has gone out of business several times. And by out of business, meaning we just didn't have enough money to continue, or I had a day job on the side and I was doing it. It wasn't my full-time thing. So, now it's my full-time thing. So we've seen definitely a bump in traffic, to stories on the site. What I hope is people become regular readers, and that I hope that they're inspired by the reviews, by reading the reviews, and say, hey, maybe there's another pathway that doesn't involve Hollywood, but it involves being an independent creator, because there's no barriers to entry for anyone there. There just isn't, which is great. So yeah, look, Film Threat's had sort of its highs and its lows. I've been doing it for so long. It's like, I don't know,
Right.
But I was on the Glenn Beck show a couple weeks ago. I think they're going to have us back, or they'll have Alan. But it's interesting because the people that are reaching out to us, they know about Film Threat from the 90s. They knew the magazine maybe when they were in college. They read the magazine. And then they're doing stuff now and they're like, well, who do I trust? I trust, this outlet that's still around and doesn't seem to give a crap and doesn't play ball with Hollywood necessarily. Whereas all the other, as I was talking about earlier, the trade publications are mouthpieces for the studios.
Well, they kind of have to be, though.
They're controlled by the advertising, and that's what it is.
It's a tough line.
Well, so how do you critique the industry and still get the ad revenue?
Well, by getting big enough. Variety is a very interesting magazine in that they will write pablum and then suddenly they write a phenomenal, not hit piece, but a very well-researched takedown. And you go, okay, where did that come from? How did they get away with that?
That's usually in their VIP section or in their business section. That's the only time you get any quality writing out of them. And you're right. They assign the proper person to that. It's not just, Nancy or the other fellow that write on the box office. So no, you're right though. But it is infrequent, but at least they are capable. There aren't a lot of mags out there, trade mags, that are capable of doing that, and I guess that's why a lot of people trust Film Threat, since they're not.
Don't trust Film Threat.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll say this. We're going to be a
compliment, Chris.
I've been a target before where people have tried to take me down. Just this weekend or last week, I put out a tweet on Friday, which is my monthly tweet, where I say turning Star Wars into a girl brand will prove to be the costliest decision in entertainment history. I say that kind of in a cold way. And by that, I mean, just like, to me, it's just points of fact. You took a boy brand that girls love too. There are female fans, although I would argue that boys and men are more consumers of Star Wars than women are. Meaning, ask a woman how big their Star Wars collection is. And I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, the answer is I don't have one, but I bought this cute top.
Right.
Okay.
Or I got a baby Yoda.
Right.
Yeah.
The only women you'll see obsessing over Star Wars toys are ones getting them for their children for the holidays.
Right. So look, as Barbie is a brand for girls that boys can also like, Star Wars is a brand for boys that girls can also like. This is the most uncontroversial thing I could be saying right now, but it shows how dishonest people are online and the amount of gaslighting for people coping about Disney Star Wars, these shills that don't want to lose their access. I mean, look, I have literally the least access they could give me, which is you are what they call, I'm grouped in with what they call all media, which is at the very last minute, fine, we'll let you see the movie for free. And that is I get invited to a screening and it's the Wednesday before it opens on the Thursday. Or sometimes I'll get a screener link for a television show. And that's mainly because Alan and I are in the CCA, which is why my membership in the CCA, I think, is important. And I think that it's important to have people who disagree with each other. This is the point of this country. But there's a profound lack of respect, which when it comes to this kind of debate where, they throw out the typical name, the ists and the phobes, right? Like those names are used. It's like, oh, this didn't used to happen to me. I guess this is happening to me, and go F yourself because I don't care. So I thought I was having a very reasonable argument, and then people just came after me with like personal insults and of course the typical names, and I was just like, all right, you know what?
This very much parallels a recent interview on trigonometry. I don't know if you know the channel from the UK.
Of course I do, yeah.
And they have a female, they have a woman reporter, journalist, and she was part of a massive women's journalist sharing jobs posting group on Facebook. And Fox News someone said, oh, by the way, Fox News is posting a job. And she made the mistake of trying to kumbaya everybody and say, hey, look, no one should be pillared for wanting to work for Fox. And she was run out of the group. She was, what is it when you're, when they
ostracized?
And when they tag your house?
What? She was doxxed.
She was doxxed.
Oh, wow.
Doxxed. She got 600 responses within an hour, tearing her down for the crime of saying people should be allowed to work wherever they want to work.
Yeah.
And this was a bunch of harpies, not too dissimilar from what you're talking about at Disney. These people exist. There's a bunch of mean girls out there.
Yep.
And mean men who act like girls.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, that culture exists. It's people that are unhappy with their lives. We all have to tolerate. We all have to be subjected to them. Yeah. On the regular. I mean, I'm now getting significant amounts of hate in social media and on my videos from time to time, and it's like
you're doing it right.
I know. I'm like, okay, I'm going to wear that as a badge. Thanks.
But to try to toe a middle row is evil.
Oh boy. You know what I mean? To have a thoughtful, balanced approach to everything. Correct. Yeah. I know.
That is what drives me nuts right now.
I tried to. I don't know if you looked at the replies to that, but I was trying to basically reasoned argument, and then Drunk 3PO of all people reached out to me, and I was taking down this guy who he really despises, Peter Sharetta, formerly of Slash Film, who's a shill that goes to theme park. He has a theme park channel, which I actually watched it. I was just like, well, one, I can't take their reviews seriously, but I like the information. I like the presentation, and I think they're very likable. I didn't realize what a mean person he is, what an ugly person on the inside Peter Sharetta is. But he came after me, was calling me names and just was a profound lack of self-awareness. And I just took him down, and Drunk 3PO was thanking me, going, oh my God, thank you. You're making my day. Thank you so much. This guy, when Drunk 3PO had 60 subscribers on YouTube, he did a video on Last Jedi saying he didn't like it. And Peter went after him and did a video making fun of Drunk 3PO when he had 60 subscribers, little small channel. And then that's how Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers discovered Jay, Drunk 3PO, like, wait, why is this guy going after someone with such a small channel?
Right.
Why would you do that? Why would you? And so they became friends. Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, and Jay Drunk 3PO. And so Drunk was like thanking me. Well, thank you. You know, this guy's been a thorn in my side. He's been mean to me over the years. And I was just like, oh, does it make you? So then I was like, well, just to entertain you, Jay, I'm going to keep doing this. And I just nuked him from orbit. And I don't know if he stopped, but I don't care.
No, you kind of demolished his ass.
Yeah,
right,
he was
posting Ghost, but I try to be reasonable so that the smart people will look and go, oh, okay, like I see what Chris is trying to say. You can also disagree with me, which is perfectly fine. But you know, debate in a reasonable way where we both respect each other. Because when you devolve to name calling, you've lost.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You've lost. I'm like Luke Skywalker in the throne room, and I throw away the lightsaber, and I'm just like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But sometimes, if it entertains Drunk 3PO, I'll just fucking pick that lightsaber.
He knows his
Do
stuff.
you have a sister? Maybe I can turn your sister to the dark side. That'll make
exactly. Yeah, and it's like he was like, oh, this is making. And then Drunk 3PO did a whole stream on that feed, on that thread, which was funny. But whatever. Like Twitter's a waste of time. I use it to promote my shit. Occasionally, I'll spout my common sense opinion. My opinions are based in common sense. They're not left opinions. They're not right opinions. They're common sense. We used to
Twitter is only good for two things. Number one, promoting something and being part of a Roman Colosseum and enjoying yourself.
Right, Paul, you're right.
That's it. Those are the only two things. If you're going to go in there for the fight, then pull out the sword and the chainmail and go for it. Have fun.
I thought it was like akin to like lighting somebody on fire.
Right. Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I just like, but also like I read a lot of books, and I like to read books. I like books on philosophy. I like biographies of people. And what sprung to mind was this quote from Bruce Lee. I love Bruce Lee. Have always loved Bruce Lee. Was a hero of mine as a kid. I saw Enter the Dragon in a movie theater when I was way too young to see it, because there's a lot of topless ladies in this film. There's nudity and sex and whatever. But I did see the film, and freaking Bruce Lee was my hero. I mean, go rewatch that movie. By the way, Enter the Dragon just was re-released in 4K. Heads up for Tom. Probably already has it. Is looking for it on his shelf right now.
No, I haven't, but it's way too far away for me to reach.
That's all good, man. But like, so like, I always loved Bruce Lee, but it's what his life was. He had such a philosophy of life. He experienced real racism, not real racism in his career, and had a philosophy about it that kept him going, that got him cast in a huge TV show in the 60s, The Green Hornet. Then he went on to star in movies. Enter the Dragon, released by Warner Brothers, which was a very diverse film. John Saxon's in that movie. Like, go back and rewatch it. Like,
I remember.
It's such a good film. And then other films he made, like, well, Game of Death is kind of a tragedy, but like, it's still worth it for the yellow jumpsuit. But then, I've read his biography. There's a really good documentary about him. Yep. Is it Be Water? And I think it's narrated by Olivia Munn, oddly enough. Weird connection. Anyways, I've just always like admired his life and his philosophy and way of looking at things. And it's a good way to be. And how is it that reasonable people just they're not rooted in any sort of simple common sense to have conversations? And I try to do that for as long as I can. And then it's like, at some point you just need to punch a bully in the nose. And I think it's a generation of people. This is going to sound like a weird thing, but like, I grew up with a generation of, if you said the wrong thing to someone or you wronged someone, you would get in a physical fight.
Right.
Physical fight. There was always if you're around a bunch of men and one man wrongs another man, there will be a physical altercation. Well, now we live at a time where that threat that, we're not bullying, no bullying. You know what? A certain amount of bullying is actually good. A certain amount of bullying is good. It to keep people in check and to keep people, so that they're on good behavior. And when there's no consequences for bad behavior online, this is when you get these cry bullies. They don't live in fear of anything happening, and they can just act this way.
Oh yeah,
act so cruel towards other people. When you look at the way that Gina Carano went down, it's disgusting. And also, by the way, Peter completely participated and celebrated her her ousting when that happened. Fuck that guy.
Peter,
And I will run into him.
Oh, the one dude. Never mind. I know what you're talking about. Never mind.
Yeah. I will run into him at a convention, and I'm going to have words with him, and it's going to be face to face, and it's going to be interesting to ask him if he would like to. Are there any names you'd like to call me right now, and see where that conversation goes?
Oh, I hope somebody films it, because I mean, honestly, if we can
film
show
it for drunk 3PO,
if we can show these crybabies in the light that they should be portrayed in, I mean, I mean, we're old guys, we had to back up our stupidity, and if we didn't, we had bloodied noses.
Right. So, I've been in fights. Yeah. Look, I've been punched. I've lost fights. Mostly. Here's the thing. Mostly, if you've been in a fight, you don't want to be in a fight. Because if you've been in a fight, you don't want to do it. So what you do is you respect other people. We have a generation of children in adult bodies that don't know, that don't have that fear, that fear of repercussions. Yeah. And look, I could have been meaner. That's the thing. I could have actually been really mean. I didn't do it. I held back. I was trying to be funny because drunk 3PO was laughing.
Well, look at that girl on campus yelling at the teacher for Halloween costumes. There's that famous thing. I mean, I was beaten up regularly in grade 7. I was carrying a briefcase. I have no idea why people beat me up, but there was a gang led by one individual who I got trashed regularly. And the very last day of school, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I just blew up, grabbed him by the collar, threw him over a bunch of desks and pounded the shit out of him. Then his gang surrounded me, and the biggest guy went, "You're okay."
Yeah. It's weird how you punch a bully in the nose.
I should have done it earlier.
Yep, I've done that too, and that's the thing is, when I was younger,
not that I recommend that to anyone.
No, but it's one of those things where sooner or later you have to stand up for yourself. Like
you have to stand up for
I used to get bullied constantly until I said enough's enough. And I think I've told this story before, but yeah, there was this bully who was like 3-4 times my size. One day I just backhanded him and he went bawling to the fucking principal about it.
Teacher.
Well, he was a jerk.
Can I read this, Tom? Can I read this super chat here?
Yeah, we're going to, because I know you and Paul have to leave. So please go ahead. There's a few super chats for both of you here.
I'm sorry. So Pinochet's helicopter tours for 2 is a member. Thank you for that. Chris means humbling over bullying someone. Yeah. Yes. I don't bully. I don't bully. I don't go out of my way to bully. I genuinely, I'm promoting, or I'm trying to entertain you and be funny, or I'm trying to make a common sense point that people can weigh in on. Those are my 3 posts. I don't go out of my way to bully anybody. I don't. But if you come after me, I've been of the mind to ignore it. But lately, maybe I can just destroy some people's souls. But only after they, you know what?
Yeah, that's fun though.
Back. So
my only exception
you have to get your life back and start doing real stuff. The soul destroying is only fun for such a limited amount of time.
Yeah, and I don't wish to do it.
Yeah, and then the humbling factor, like that's the thing too, is like same kind of thing with me. I'll say something and then a bunch of people come after me. I'm like, I don't give a shit. But it's kind of like the same thing with when I was growing up. If I see somebody being picked on that I don't feel like can defend themselves or is being, unfairly targeted by, say, like in the case of social media, like a bigger influencer or something like that. Oh yeah, I'll step in. That's the times when I'll step in.
Oh yeah,
like,
me
to
too.
me, that's bullshit. And it's like, I don't like bullies. I don't like seeing people being bullied. And growing up that way, it's why I don't have any tolerance for that kind of crap. And yeah, I've had my run-ins with that idiot too that you're talking about.
And it's also part of being a man. This is when you are a man, that this kind of thing comes up. And I just grew up in an era where the threat of physical violence when you're around a bunch of men is always there. If you misbehave, if you treat someone in a certain way. And I had my whole thing was, look, I was physically slight. It wasn't until 16 that I had a huge growth spurt. But I was kind of a runt, a little kid. So yes, I was bullied. But the thing that saved me was I could take down anybody with words, whether it was cruel jokes or whatever. That also got me in trouble. It wasn't until I turned 16 that I actually started to grow up, right? Get tall, and all that. But up until then, I was a target. So you have to develop other skills. My skills were I I had a talented tongue.
Yep.
Okay.
But yes, thank you, Pinochet. And then we got Facatino, who sends in $4.99, says, "Hi, Chris. Star Wars Theory had recently had an article written about him by Rolling Stone, twisting his words about women shouldn't be in Star Wars." Yeah, I was going to bring this up, but you were on a roll already.
Yeah,
before.
I saw that article. I followed Star Wars Theory. He followed me back. I think I've been following him a while. But yeah, no, he's become a target. And I saw that woman's speech. She's 100% right. Women in general, like I'm talking about normie women who go to Nordstrom's and shop at stores or just do normal things, they're not into Star Wars. Are there women into Star Wars? Yes, they are. Yes, there are. I'd say it's probably 70-30, but it is still more male dominated. And when it comes to boys, you ask boys what they like. At least I don't think boys like Star Wars now. I don't think any kids like Star Wars. And just I raised a boy and a girl. I have, one of each. And there's very clear differences in the things that they gravitated to. The one thing I did notice, I noticed this just because you get to know, end up having a lot of friends who are also parents and also have kids. One thing that is kind of like gender neutral, the only thing I thought that was gender neutral when it came to toys, and back me up on this, anyone who's a parent, dinosaurs.
Yep.
Yeah. Boys and girls like dinosaurs. That was the only thing I noticed. And my daughter, she was not into Barbies at all. She loved Godzilla and dinosaurs and Jurassic Park. She was
Everyone loves dinosaurs, but boys even more so.
Well, this is what I was saying about the Godzilla franchise. This is what I was saying. Yeah. Well, this is what I was saying about the Godzilla franchise, because King of Monsters didn't do well at the box office, but what it did do is sell a hell of a lot of toys. So that's why when they did Godzilla versus Kong, if you notice, there's a clear shift from, the more adult oriented kind of tone to the more kid kind of tone. And that's what Godzilla X Kong is going to be as well. So yeah, no, they realize that kids love dinosaurs and monsters, and this has both. And you're right. And it's the same thing with He-Man. We've reported on this before, but that was what killed He-Man. There was plenty of girls that liked He-Man, but they liked it for the same reasons the boys did, right? That was the thing. It's the same thing with Star Wars and everything else. As soon as they brought She-Ra into the mix and made She-Ra incompatible, it's almost like they actually made it incompatible physically, but also in a way metaphorically, right? Because at that point the boys are like, well, fuck this noise, I don't want anything to do with that anymore. And it's kind of the same thing with all these other kind of properties. And yeah, you're 100% right on that, Chris. And I know you got to get going here, and so does Paul. So we got a couple more here for you, and we'll let you head on out. We got Willie the Monkey King, who sends in a member chat. He's been here for 25 months. Thank you for that, Willie. Also a mod out there. Says props to Alan Big D Ing for his work on the D Files. Part 2, in my opinion, wasn't as strong as Part 1, but still worthy read. Check out Film Threat's website. Well, hopefully you're looking forward to Part 3.
Yeah.
These damn sequels always suck.
Yeah, sequel after sequel after sequel after sequel. And then we got one more here for great. Chris and Paul here. Yeah. No, you guys are doing amazing work over there, and hopefully we get more in the future. And then this one's for Chris and Paul from Marksman 117B. Says, in honor of Satanic Panic, will you watch Has-Been Hotel? It and the spinoff Hella Boss are 2 shows chat recommended before.
That's not the new show where Satan has got a daughter and comes up and tries to right the world, is it?
Yes.
I've seen the trailer. I have not seen the show. So the animation style looks interesting. The subject matter is controversial amongst a certain group of people. But since Jews don't believe in hell, doesn't bug me.
Yeah, I you know what? I haven't seen it, so I've only seen the animation style, which doesn't appeal to me. It looks like it's for children,
which is a problem, I think. But we got a few more super chats, so we'll probably talk a little bit more about that in a little bit.
Okay, cool.
I want to thank Chris and Paul for being here as always. Anything you guys want to plug real quick before you head out?
No, just go to filmthreat.com and join me tomorrow at 5 a.m. Pacific time, 8 a.m. Eastern to react live for the Oscar nominations. Alan and I
might stay up and watch you.
Yeah, there you go.
Just invite me to the Oscar show again. I loved doing that last
All
time.
right, yeah. We're gonna. I've already got
that
like
was
a packed
fun.
house.
I know.
So
You don't
I'll
if you
check
don't
that.
want me, it's okay. I won't feel badly.
No. It's just a matter of like I think we've already got like 10 full slots, but we'll rotate people in. So there you go.
Not a problem.
Just
Well,
get your
All right.
I got an appalling news. I'm going to try to get an appalling news Monday and Tuesday, and they call me Chato. Sorry, Monday and Wednesday, and call me Chato on Tuesday and Thursday. I'm trying to get into a groove here. So I have a very funny, appalling news item today, and hopefully you enjoy it. So thank you very much for having me. As always, it's the Monday mornings are so great. These are great panels. You guys are very knowledgeable, and it's always fun. So I am honored to be part of this.
Thanks for joining us, Bob. And also, we are unfortunately losing Script Doctor, who has to leave rather in a hurry.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. But I gotta go pitch. So have a good one and take care.
I didn't know you played baseball. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And Chris is still here for some reason.
Yeah.
We don't
I gotta
hate
run.
that
All right,
idea.
take care, everybody. Have a great
Take care.
Monday. Later. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care, Chris. All right, let's get
But
to the
maybe
super
Culture
chats.
can be here till the bitter end.
Oh,
I hope so.
I wish I could. I'm actually 10 minutes, 12 minutes late to a meeting. I actually
I had a feeling. So,
I'm
All
like,
right. Well, let me double check in case there's anything for you here.
oh, I doubt it.
I don't see anything
you never know.
specific. I'm sure they would love to have gotten your thoughts on some of these things, but
Oh, sure.
we'll let you get rolling here so you can
All
get
right.
to your meeting.
I want to say thank you all. It was a lot of fun today. And I just dropped my thoughts on the floptasticness of Madam Web. So when you're done here, go check out that video. You might be entertained. It's a little out of focus, but it's fine. It's fine. See you later.
Out of focus?
It is. I don't know what happened. The camera's like, nah. The words are more important than my face. Believe me. I've seen my face. I'll see you later, guys. Bye.
All right. Well, you take care. Cool. There he's gone. Pinochet's helicopter tour sends in $2. Says they made a special 4K black and white camera for Oppenheimer. Yeah, I remember seeing something about that, but I know they used mostly film otherwise. So, and I think they had a hard time getting a hold of some of the black and white camera stock or something like that. I remember it was a bit of an issue. So that's probably why they made these, if I remember right. But this is also one of my concerns with the whole Godzilla black and white. So I'm glad that they're reprocessing it. So maybe I'll check it out and see if it's worthwhile. But yeah, and then we got Packing Protons and Gaming and Games and Animation, who's now a member. Thank you for that, Packing Protons. We appreciate that. Waltman4 sends in $4.99, says right now you can't even use Doomcock's name in the Hall of Disney or you get done, although they're trying to keep the spray tan smell out. Yeah, well, I'm sure he's been a dirty word there for a while. But yeah,
good enough that he was made the villain in She-Hulk.
Right. Dash Attack is here, and he's been a member for 21 months. Says, wow, that David Tennant stuff is depressing. This is why I avoid doing videos that reference war anymore. I just hate cancel mobs and cancel culture. Yeah, I don't really follow the Doctor Who stuff too closely, but yeah, I saw that there was a little bit of that business, and we talked about that a little earlier too. But thank you, Dash Attack. Action Com sends in $20. Says, Andre, after seeing your ATWI 80
around the world in 80 days.
Yeah. That I got on my knees and thanked the gods above. The Disney's plans for Captain Nemo got scotched after seeing Once Upon a Time's reinterpretation of Nemo. James Mason didn't deserve that.
Oh, I have bad news for you. That series is still on. You see, Disney Plus passed it up, but it's still being developed by the BBC, I think. And not only that, I believe the same consortium that made Around the World in 80 Days have already done Alexandre Dumas' Count of Monte Cristo and plan on releasing that this year. So that should be fun. So yeah, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but we're not out of the woods. Just put it this way: the Around the World in 80 Days was not the one-off, but no news on season 2. So there's that. And as you saw in that video, we luckily have plenty real Around the World in 80 Days adaptations to keep us entertained instead. For instance, Around the World with Willy Fogg is free on YouTube in as good as quality as you're going to find.
There you go. And then we've got Pilgrim Media here who sends in $2. Says, everybody choose your camps. Happy Monday. Yeah. I'm sick of that crap. Callum Lyle sends in $5 Australian. Says, Clownfish got a leak from the same unknown person from the first series. Oh, for He-Man? I thought I saw something about that. I didn't get a chance to check it out yet.
The same leaks that we got earlier, so I do not doubt for a second that they're completely legit.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Stephen Ellis sends in £5 and says, completely off topic, but I'm rewatching Tales from the Loop on Prime. Criminally underappreciated. I see Matt Reeves executive produced. I'm not familiar with Tales from the Loop.
I have never heard of this.
Yeah, sorry, Stephen. I'm not familiar at all, but maybe I'll have to look into it now. Okay. Matt Reeves. Okay. Waltman 4 sends in $9.99, says via Clownfish TV, but those rumors. Okay, so there you go. So that's where those rumors came from. So take that as you will. Hordak killed by Skeletor, now dubbed Skeletech. Tila becomes God and reboots Preternia, and Evil Lyn joins Hordak in the end. Or Zodak, actually. Sorry, I don't know why I said Hordak. Yeah, and this is similar to I think something else I read somewhere too. So yeah, these rumors are probably all coming from the same report.
This sounds stupid as fuck.
None of it surprises me if it's true.
No, it doesn't surprise me. It just seems so dumb. Tila becomes God and reboots Preternia, and Evil Lyn joins Zodak. Well, yeah, of course, because she ends her toxic relationship with Skeletor, I guess. This is just dumb. This, yeah. I'm already dreading watching this. I can't believe it's coming.
I know, right?
This week. How sad is it? Like, we are some of the biggest He-Man fans around, and we're actively dreading this series.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that we're getting a ton of good Godzilla stuff right now, I'd probably be going insane. That's like one of the only things keeping me sane right now. And looking forward to like Cobra Kai and maybe Ghostbusters, because otherwise this He-Man stuff is depressing. Because you know that trailer, I know the trailer, and I think I said that to you when I first sent it to you. I'm like, I'm sure this is a bait and switch, but there's a lot of stuff in the trailer that I'm like, yeah, it looks good, just like as you pointed out, just like the original one did. But yeah, there was some red flags already in the trailers, and I noticed like the godlike powers that Tila has now. Of course, she had the godlike powers at the end of the last season, remember? Because she could just say, well, I don't agree with that. That's not my truth, and I don't have to listen to what you say, and I can do whatever the hell I want. Fuck the rules. Yeah. Like, that's really go watch it. That's exactly what she says. Because
you're not even joking. That's the sad part.
Because the sorceress tells her, like, yeah, there's a catch to this. You have to stay within the confines of Castle Grayskull, or your powers will be diminished, and you have to, because otherwise the power will be lost. And she's like, yeah, I don't believe in that. Just like, well, that's glad you don't believe that, but that's not how the Force works. It's just like, duh. So yeah, I can't imagine how stupid this next one is going to be, but we'll find out in 3 days. Taylor Swift is greater than Disney, Star Wars, and the MCU. Sends in $2. Says Queen Rock Montreal on the list. Yeah, I was happy to see it popped up there. I didn't even think to look and see if it was playing in my nearby IMAX. Not that I had the time to go see it this weekend, but maybe if it hangs around a bit, maybe I'll get a chance to scooch off and see it, but I doubt it. But yeah, it'd be kind of cool. But not, hopefully a 4K release will be inevitable. JWT6577 sends in 5 and says they have earned the right of the people taking their weird fantasies. Chris, not even a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry I missed this one, JWT. I didn't see Chris's name on here. But yeah. So yeah. Hopefully we'll get more on that next Monday, if the third part is out by then. Dash Attack says a year with less Marvel movies is a good year for me. Well, the thing is, Dash, thank you for the $99, but we're getting plenty of Marvel movies. They're just not Disney MCU Marvel movies.
They're also not any good ones.
Yeah, it's going to be Madam Web, Craven. I'm missing one here somewhere.
Yeah, no, those are the ones. Madam Web, Craven,
Deadpool 3,
and Deadpool 3, and those are it. There's no one else.
Because I know Spider-Verse is not going to be done for this year, guys.
Yeah, no. So it's those.
Newsflash, I was right when I said before they were having a few issues with that. Yeah. So yeah, and that wasn't just the strikes that got in the way of that. They should have had that fucker ready to go I don't know what the hell they were thinking. That is just stupidity on their part, and I laugh at them. Crom laughs at them too.
I was about to make an Amy Pascal joke, but I couldn't think of one.
I figured I left you something good with the Crom joke there. He's just laughing at their hubris. Pete Dencat sends in a member chat for 15 months. Thank you so much. Says, see, I not keen on the idea of superhero fatigue because it seems to me that it is exhausting shite films. It is, Pete. But the shit films just kind of expedited the process. I mean, eventually it was going to happen that we're just going to get to a point, and I've said it, and everybody said it, so it's not like I'm, the first to say this or anything like that. But we were just eventually going to get to that point where nobody was going to give a shit about these things anymore, except for certain ones like Batman and Spider-Man, right? It was just inevitable we were going to get to that point, but the woke crap and the crap movies have made that happen 10, maybe more years faster, right? Because honestly, we've made this argument before, and I'm sure Andre will agree. Had they just stayed the course they were on, stuck with the A-list characters, used the storylines that they've had in their coffers from the last 50, 60 years or whatever in Marvel, they could have milked this for another 10 years easy.
Very easy. But they rushed straight from just a small selection of the material they had straight up until the worst period in the comics ever, just to be virtue signaling. And now to go back to some of those truly great stories, and there's many of them to choose from. I don't see how they do it, because they have partially ruined so many other stories in the process. So they just fucked it up.
Yeah, because going off of what you said earlier, Marvel is the tide that rows all the boats, because at the end of the day, absolutely, none of these superhero movies were doing anything before that were of any note other than Superman and Batman. X-Men and Spider-Man came along, and they're like, okay, there's a formula to this that we can copy and keep doing. And those movies did very, very, very well. But it wasn't until the Avengers was this huge smash success. But that was a success because of those 4 movies leading up to it. And the thing is the Hulk was the most popular of those characters, believe it or not. And it was just the sheer fact that those movies were good leading up to that, getting it going, and then finally people realized, oh, we can start bringing in all these other characters. Well, sign me up. Well, there's a good roster of A-list characters, but like Andre said, they jumped past all those characters. So they could have kept doing this. We could be Iron Man 6 right now.
They could do this for 20 more years.
Yeah.
Easily. I mean, why limit it to 10? I mean, 10 years, that's the same distance.
But none of my point was
Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, they could do this for 20 more years.
My point was everything. Yeah, movies like Guardians of the Galaxy are an exception to the rule, because that was what I was trying to say is no other comic book movies besides the big boys ever did anything of note. Ninja Turtles being the only exception, right? Otherwise, none of them really did. You can't point to one and go, oh yeah, Hellboy was this huge fucking success. It wasn't. It did all right. Even Blade did moderately well. I wouldn't call it like a huge success, right? Like it did very, very well.
Hellboy has never done any more than barely. I mean, just keep.
That's my point.
Yeah. The original production company passed on making Hellboy 2. It was another company that picked up part 2, and they didn't want to do part 3. They tried to get part 3 off the ground, but it never happened because no one was the one wanted to fund it. That's why they went with a reboot. It wasn't like a choice. It was because the money to do part 3 isn't there. Yeah, and the next movie coming is another rights retainer that's recast again, as far as I understand.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
although I did enjoy the previous one, I do have to say that. Actually, that may be my favorite one, actually.
I say, you're like the second or third person to say that now, so I almost got to break down and check it out. So I didn't really want to. I was kind of but anyway. We got some Rumble rants here, because yes, we are live on the Rumble side of things. Chaos Sonic 1 sends in $2 and says, Madam Web movie is also bashing one of my favorite mentors of Peter Parker, Ezekiel, who in the comics was an ass, but did do the right thing in the end. Yeah. I think I know which one you're talking about. So, oh yeah, this is gonna be like Morbius times 10, I think.
Oh, for sure. Morbius is exactly what it's going to. I mean, we are lucky if this thing is as entertaining as Morbius.
Yeah,
I
no.
can easily see this being another Ghostbusters 2016. I mean, if this comes out as Morbius, you can put that solidly in the win category.
Yeah, I hear you there. And then we've got another one from Chaos Sonic on the Rumble side of things. Guys, Has-Been Hotel is not for kids. There are F-bombs, sexual themes, and all the dirty stuff kids should not watch. And that's fair. I'm not saying it shouldn't exist. My problem is in a day and age we live now, and I can understand how some people are feeling about this. I watched the trailer and I'm just like, I'm not even that uber religious, but I'm just like, yeah, this might have went a little too far. And there's not much in the trailer that signifies to me that it's for adults. And the difference here between like when shows like Beavis and Butthead and The Simpsons and all that stuff came out back in the day, and even South Park when it first premiered, it wasn't shown at like any time of the day. They saved that stuff for later at night, and kids couldn't just access it like they can now with everything. So I mean, that's a concern I think more for parents on their side of things. But again, that's the parents should be watching what their kids watch anyway, knowing what they watch. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it shouldn't exist, but I just understand why people are having issues with it. Especially from coming from people who are so uppity about cultural appropriation and how they're appropriating religion in this respect. Stone Racket has been a member for 33 years, says Midnight's Edge is the very best. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for all your efforts to reveal the truth behind Hollywood's lies. Special thank you to Andre for his Around the World in 80 Days video. I'm only glad you guys liked that because I wasn't sure how that was going to turn out.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for the kind words. And yeah, no, the response to that has been actually fairly tremendous. I mean, like, none of these retrospectives, unfortunately, do all that well in views. Certainly not early on, which is kind of like why we rely on you guys to help like them, see them, and spread them, because Lord knows this platform ain't gonna do it. But yeah, the response to it has been super positive. So yeah, that's much appreciated. It was a lot of fun to do, a pure passion project, because as Tom kind of alluded to, it's not the kind of thing that necessarily does well on a platform like this, or indeed anywhere else. Like, it's not the most current of topics unless you tie it into Doctor Who.
Indeed. And then we've got let's see here, Pilgrim Media, who says for $2, the movie The Founder was about real estate. Kind of, yes, in a way. I mean, well, that was the trick of it. And I'm sorry I didn't catch this when Chris was still here because he was the one who brought it up. But yeah, there you go. We got Revcore, who sends in 5 and says, after everything from all fields, every company needs at minimum hire a purge. The upper management have no effing clue what they are doing. Well, I think here's the thing that, like, the way business generally kind of, I think, runs the best is when you have people who have experience, who've been there for years. They get the upper management positions. They get to make more of the decisions. But sometimes their hubris can get just as bad as the hubris of the young and up and coming ones who think they have all the answers. The older generation sometimes thinks they have all the answers. And that's where we hit this, unstoppable object hits a immovable, wall or whatever you want to call it, kind of saying. And it just like, it's like we've forgotten that there has to be this merging at some point in between the middle, right? And the greatest story to probably kind of illustrate that is how Star Wars got made. Gosh, I forgot the guy's name at Fox who greenlit that. All of a sudden, I just had a brain fart. But he was, talking to George, and George is talking about all his ideas for Star Wars, and he just finally stops George. He goes, "Look, I don't know what you're talking about with this talking dog and space balls and all this other shit, but I liked American Graffiti. Here's 10 million bucks. Go make your talking dog movie." He didn't know what he was doing, but he had the insight to say, "Look, I know what this kid can do, and I'm going to put my faith in him, even though I have no idea what the fuck he's ranting about." But if he was like any other normal, like, executive who'd be like, "Oh, well, I know what people want, and that's not what people want," They want this. They want musicals. They want cowboys. They want this shit here. They don't want, talking space dogs in space. Like, if you don't have that kind of, if you don't take those kind of chances anymore, you wind up with the crap that we got, for the longest time. And then you have this interjection that we've had lately where they're listening to the wrong young people. So that's the other problem, is you have too much on the other side of it, where they're trying to be, well, I'm hip, I'm with it, I'm cool. I want to be with the MTV generation, kind of bullshit. And they're not realizing that they're literally just undoing everything that their parents' generation fought against, in a way. So anyway, that was a roundabout long way of explaining that shit. But anyway, I hope you got your $5 worth there, Revcore. Mario Trulio's here, and he's been a member for 13 months. Thank you for that. War 2 Sins and 2, and says thoughts on Out of Darkness Stone Age horror. I don't think I've seen Out of Darkness. Have you, Andre?
I can't say I have. This is
sounds like something up your alley, though.
But yeah, it does. So I'm going to check that out right now. Out of Darkness Stone Age horror. That sounds amazing. I'll be checking that out. And yeah, ask me later.
You know what I watched? Oh, I sent you the thing because of where they filmed it, but I'd never seen 1 billion years BC before.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Which they filmed in my current location.
Yeah,
actually, there's a bunch of movies where I am right now.
Yeah,
I mean, this is like where they filmed like the past scenes in Marvel's Eternals. That was filmed here, and Rambo was filmed here. You can actually see my house in it, and Jason Bourne was filmed here, and an upcoming movie with Henry Cavill and Jared Butler will be here. I know, because I bumped into both of them in town.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that movie is Raquel Welch, she didn't even really want to make it. Because she's like, it's going to be some like, cheap, weird fucking movie. The thing that she did it for was because they were filming it in the Canary Islands in Tenerife. She's like, oh, I'll get to go on vacation. Yeah. So she went over, filmed the movie, stayed there for half a year. But she didn't realize, because of course, the internet didn't exist back then, kids, believe it or not. By the time she got back to the United States, she was the #1 pinup girl.
That's what it got to be a
no idea.
Nice or nasty surprise, depending on what you wanted.
Well, at first she was like, well, I thought nobody was ever going to see the movie to begin with, and now it's the most iconic image of my life. So, like, so yeah. Because that poster was huge.
Thank you, Tenerife.
Yeah, because she didn't even really want to make it. She's just like, oh, no. Anybody who hasn't seen that movie, check it out. I was actually really surprised with how good it was for, the era that it came out in. So I had very low expectations. But anyway, sorry I had not seen thoughts on Out of Darkness. I wish I had some thoughts on it. I'll check that one out too, maybe. Matthias Fredrickson says he finally saw
Indie. Out of Darkness from? Because the one I'm seeing the trailer for here now has nothing to do with any Stone Age.
Yeah, the only one I see coming up is a 2022 film. I'm not seeing any.
Let us know in the chat which year.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it unless it's the wrong title. Is there a translation difference? Maybe. Matthias Fredrickson finally saw Indy 5. Too long, too little. Jesus Spear. Well, that should have been the main. What you call it? The main MacGuffin. But yeah, no. Instead, they chose to do the Dial of Destiny, which sounds like a bad Taylor Swift album. Speaking of, Taylor Swift greater than Destiny. The Disney Star Wars and MCU gifted a membership. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Mario Trillo also sends a 5 in and says, I've known about pro rehabbers for years now. For legal reason, I'll say I've catered to some high rollers who are on professional house arrest. Oh, interesting. And then we've got Jesus Davila sends in a super sticker. Thank you for that, Jesus, and we appreciate that. Action Com sends in 2 and says, Andre, the gods have abandoned you. Oh. Why did they do such a thing?
Well, in terms of like the, if you mean like in terms of adaptations like the Count of Monte Cristo and Nemo and stuff like that, well, they would have. But here's the thing: I find solace in the excellent adaptations that we already have. So I can take it or leave it. It's fine.
Besides, his god is Crom anyway.
Well, yeah, and who's quite similar to Odin,
and Crom is a cruel god. Yes,
exactly. They're like, well, stop your whining and get on with it.
Just get over it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna let that ruin my day.
And we have Paulie. How you doing,
Hey,
Paulie?
Hey guys.
Yeah, you literally showed up for the last 2 super chats. What's up?
No, I want that. Nice. So thanks for letting me on. I wanted to plug a couple things.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, because we had some big success. And hey, everyone in the chat, great morning. Talk today, guys. I was listening the whole time this morning. We had a great Zorro watch party the other day, Andre.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been there, but I just haven't had time to see it. That's been my problem. I'm too busy.
Yeah. So we're gonna go and do Friday. We're gonna watch party the finale, episode 10, or yeah, I think there's 10 or 8. So me, Lily, and Fletcher, we're going through the whole season. I think we're halfway, but then when we want to watch episode 10 together, we can do the setup as we did last week, guys, where we all watch it on our Amazon Prime watch party. And yeah, that's really it. Kind of just we want to redirect as soon as the morning show is done on Friday morning here. That'd be wonderful. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
All right. Well, cool.
I saw there was a pocket. Everyone left. I was like, well, let me see if I can jump on for a second.
No problem. Hollywood Apocalypse sends in 70 South African rands. Holy crap.
Wow.
Holy.
Thanks.
Says breaking Amazon have signed Star Trek Legacy will announce in summer. If not, Metalis will be Jonathan Frakes, co-showrunner, will tie into Picard movie, will die probably if Paramount's sold. Well, we'll have to see what happens there. I have not heard any updates for a while. In fact, one of my main sources has been quite quiet for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. We know they've been like trying to do multiple things though, and we know that my worry here, of course, is that this is the kind of thing that Alex Kurtzman is going to insert himself into and completely ruin. Going to try to tie it in with all the other crap that has no business being tied into it. So, yeah, this is the kind of thing that I would want to be excited about, because season 3 of Picard by Terry Matalas was so good. If they could just continue with him, Star Trek would be in good hands. But yeah, I won't allow myself to get excited before we know more. But this is a promising sign, but let's see what comes of it.
I honestly think a lot of these announcements and stuff right now.
This hasn't been announced though. This is
but Picard Patrick Stewart did mention the Picard movie in an interview late last year. So like I think a lot of this stuff is out there just so they can try and jack up Paramount's worth right now, kind of like with George Lucas when he sold Lucasfilm. But
the irony, of course, is the more they talk it up, the less it's going to be worth. Because
well, the one that helped their stock was the Top Gun 3 announcement, Andre. Sorry, you're saying.
That did help. But here's the difference. Top Gun actually has a successful track record. Like 100% of Top Gun movies have been successful, including one of them, because there's only 2. That was a massive smash hit only a couple of years ago. How much has Star Trek made anyone that isn't called Bad Robot or Secret Hideout?
According to Parrot Analytics, Star Trek, Discovery, and all those shows are amazing.
Yeah.
According
to how much money did they make Paramount and CBS?
No, I know. Anyway, go ahead, Paulie.
No, I was saying, according to mainstream media, haven't you heard everything's amazing?
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
everything is amazing.
Everything is awesome.
We're watching the True Detective the new one with Jodie Foster.
I've heard. See, I've never seen that, and I've heard lots of things about it. But Jodie
Well,
Foster,
they're
I like,
hailing
so.
the native woman actress as a revelation, as an acting revelation, and she's an acting cardboard. She's a piece of cardboard. Yeah.
Oh, a new
Sounds
Mikey Spock.
amazing.
Gotcha. That
Yeah, the
doesn't
new.
make me want to watch it now.
Well, there's a lot of other good stuff. Like this writer director is really going for that horror and kind of pseudo supernatural in Alaska. You know, it does have some scary moments. It's just that the cast is so good. Eccleston's in it, John Hawkes, and honestly, the kid who plays Foster's deputy, that young guy is amazing, and no one's talking about him. I wonder why. And of course, it's Jodie. She's just she's a mess of her character's a mess of a person who takes on this this case.
All right.
Oh yeah.
I have not seen it, so I can't really comment, unfortunately. But Chris K sends in 5 and says, any good rumors concerning new Asian or European Netflix gems? Also concerning Andre and travel, 70,000 tons of metal might be up your alley.
70,000 tons of. Oh, speaking of that, I did find out that Out of Darkness is a 2022 movie, UK movie. So thank you, chat, for informing me of that. 70,000 tons of metal. Okay, that is something else I need to check out then. Not really heard about it. Good rumors concerning new Asian or European Netflix gems. Well, there's stuff coming all the time, and that's one of the things I'm always pleasantly surprised by is when a gem suddenly drops that wasn't on my radar at all. Most recent example being Beekeeper. I won't shut about it because it was so freaking amazing.
Seen it twice, Andre.
Best thing since Equalizer 3.
Yes.
It's right up there with Equalizer 3. In some ways, it's even better. It's right up there. It's amazing. Can't wait for the 4K. I'm buying that thing in 4K in the most special there can be. But anyway, for other Asian next year, I don't know what's coming, but I'm sure there's going to be awesome stuff coming over the course of the year.
70,000 tons of metal sounds like an awesome metal collection.
It does sound like a very, very cool,
or a band name.
Or like those old K-Tel, 70,000 tons of metal with all your favorite hits.
For a metal festival.
We've got Rammstein. Anyway. And another one from Rammstein. That's what Andre picked. No.
New Asian and European Netflix gems.
This would probably be
I'm checking it now. It's the world's most. Let's see.
Or Andre might know one.
The world's biggest heavy metal cruise. Oh, okay. It's a cruise.
Wow!
One of those massive cruise ships. You know, the ones that are called like the icon of the sea and stuff. They really should be called collectively monstrosity of the seas because they are skyscrapers just floating in the water there. But so yeah, okay. Let's it's leaving in 7 days, so I'm missing that. But yeah, 70,000 tons of metal. I don't know though how many metal fans can afford to go on such a cruise. My worry for that is that I think maybe this is a great idea that some super rich guy had, and I don't know if they fully understand their audience or their audience wallet, because it's on the Freedom of the Seas. Jesus, that's one of the biggest ships in the world, one of the most expensive to boot, and that's where they're going to have 70,000 tons of metal for headbangers. That audience can't afford going on the Freedom of the Seas, also known as Monstrosity of the Seas 1.0. But yeah, apparently this has been going on for a while. But it's news to me. I hadn't even heard about it.
That's wild. But it doesn't surprise me. They have themed cruises for everything, Andre.
Yeah, I even had like Star Trek. Oh, Ein, how do you this here? That's one of the that's awesome. That's one of my favorites, actually. Ein Hadjid, some of you may recognize that name. They're playing here. Good Norwegian band, some really nice kick-ass beats. I was once asked what's my favorite black metal bands. I forgot to mention those. Ein Hadjid is freaking awesome. Let's see who else is here. Lord of the Lost, Nocturnal. Yeah, there's a really good mix of bands here. They're pretty
Would you
heavy.
be going alone, or would you be taking the missus?
I'd be taking the missus for the cruise, not for the concerts.
I was gonna say, if he wants to stay married, I think he'd be taking her,
Well, you never know. She might be,
or whichever one she wants. That is.
No, I've taken her to Rammstein. I've taken her to
I was gonna say, that's like church for him, man.
Metallica.
Right.
I've taken, but I've been very selective. Like I haven't
smart.
taken her to I've taken her to Laibach. That was awesome. That was a massive hit. Taken her to Leonard Cohen. It's very different again. I haven't taken her to any black metal because that wouldn't go so well.
Gotcha.
Speaking of, Paulie, you need to check out the song. It actually came out several years ago. Actually, in fact, everyone does. It came out several years ago. It just randomly popped up in my feed a couple of days ago.
Tell me, I'll write it down.
Iron Man. Norwegian reggaeton.
Oh, reggaeton?
Yeah, Norwegian reggaeton.
What?
Yes. It's the most amazing thing I have ever seen. I cannot believe this exists.
I might react to it on the slant then.
Do it.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll help you because I'll explain it and interpret it. I mean, they reference a bunch of Norwegian stuff in there that it's going to go straight over your head unless I go through exactly what they are. But that's the most amazing thing I have seen. I mean, it has to be like the official Midnight Edge Espanol track because it's the most beautiful blend
let's get Fletcher on that.
of Hispanic and Norwegian culture I've ever seen. It's a masterpiece, and I can't believe it came out years ago and I didn't see it. It's glorious.
It makes sense. I mean, Latin music is global now. You got the Japanese doing cumbia and salsa, so that's another level. I want to say also too, another great thing about the Zorro TV show is the soundtrack is incredible, and it's got all these huge musicians doing these killer songs. There's even a bilingual song, Andre, with Keith Urban and Karin Leon from Mexico.
Oh, nice.
It is so cool, man. And it's like that it's that kind of California vibe. So yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, there's some people.
We have a question for you. ActionCom says, Paulie, what is a moral death clause in an actor contract? Kevin Costner has one for Yellowstone.
Oh wow. Let me look that up real quick.
Is the missus there so you can maybe ask her because she probably would know? I mean, I can guess based on the wording, but I would be guessing. Tom would probably know, but
I just looked it up. It's a moral death clause listed general ways the character is allowed to die and prevents the character from dying in a way that would be shameful or embarrassing, as Costner has it in your contract. So that makes sense when you're a name, you can put that in there. You can actually put that in there before you sign on the dotted line. That's why a lot of these actors they don't have those rights, kind of like how their characters is to be killed off. That's kind of beyond most actors in their contracts because the actors.
You also had something similar other times. Like, for instance, there was one of the actors in the HBO series Oz from 1997, the prison series, right? I forgot the name of the actor. Like, big, strong dude, played Paul Pancamo or something, like a member of the Italian mafia in the series. And he had
What was the series?
Oz.
Oh, Oz.
Yeah, on HBO, the prison series.
Yeah.
And he basically had it in his contract that his character wasn't either going to be on the receiving end of any, let's say prison love scenes, either in the receiving or giving end, because he wanted none of that. That would be bad for his image. So they agreed to that for him. That would be something similar to like a model clause in the contract. And moving on a little bit, Chaos Sonic says for $2 over on the Rumble side. Post-credit scene, spoiler rumor, is She-Ra in her villain form arriving from a portal? Oh, they would have to change some money for that to happen, because that's a different set of rights.
Huh.
And Chaos Sonic also says, Haspin Hotel is an adult show because the pilot was shown on YouTube along with its spin-off Helva Boss, with it having trigger warnings on both pilots. Yeah, I'm not familiar with either, but I hope it's cool for anyone who wants to see it. And then rounding out, we have Meteor Advocate Timon, who says for 5 Brazilian real. I recommend the Netflix show Gyeonsung Creature. Very good characters, takes place in Japan-dominated Korea during World War II. Ooh, this sounds cool. Yeah, see, this is what I like about
Let me write that
Netflix,
down.
that you have so many really cool foreign stuff in there. Not just upcoming, but there's some amazing stuff already there.
Yeah, and they're stockpiled with some killer Latin American and Indian cinema. The Spanish movie I can recommend is number 1 all over the world. You guys have probably already seen it. It's called Society of the Snow.
Yes, I saw it when it came. It was amazing. It's truly amazing. It's basically retells the story of the flight that went down in the Andes in 1972. It's previously been told in the movie Alive from 1991, which is a fantastic movie, but this one is even better. It has like more running time, and it's just truly haunting, extremely well made.
Yeah.
So there's some amazing stuff on Netflix.
There's a lot of great stuff on Netflix and Prime as well. It's just you gotta kind of like get recommendations and then know how to search and look for stuff.
I'm fairly happy with the AI and the recommendation feature on Netflix, I gotta say.
Real? Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's
No, like
super
for instance,
cool.
no, because for Midnight Edge, I obviously have to have a number of streamers I otherwise wouldn't, but I do have Netflix. It's good for the kids. Bunch of kid-friendly stuff there. Bunch of Norwegian stuff, for instance, which is brilliant. But then I see like the difference between when I log in my profile and when my wife logs into her profile.
Correct.
And they're fairly decent in their recommendations. Like for instance, when you go into hers, it's just kind of like the stuff that she watches. So it's things that I have to watch, but I really don't want to. So I have like an expert knowledge about stuff like Selling Sunset and
I know exactly.
Sorrow, but I have to watch that. So
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very rare that we're both excited for the same new thing or the same movie.
This very rarely happens, but we do have to make that occasional sacrifice.
Another good scary movie I want to recommend, Tigers Are Afraid. It's from Mexico.
Yeah.
It's think Lost Boys set against the drug cartels killing off their parents. I mean, a lot. And I say Lost Boys, I mean like a Lord of the Flies Lost Boys, like these kids orphan and find each other and then go and inhabit like this empty house, but there's haunting spirits. It's fantastic. Tigers Are Afraid. Yeah,
excellent. Yeah, but with that we are fully caught up. Everyone head on over to Latinos Land because you're going to be live there fairly shortly, aren't you?
Going live in minutes. We're gonna have a Struggle as a guest, Struggle reviews, and going over Razzies. The Razzies were announced. That's always a lot of fun, Andre, and a bunch of other stuff. So stop on by.
I was annoyed that the Expendables 4 was annoyed for Razzies. It wasn't that bad. You just have to realize it was a Jason Statham movie and not a Stallone movie. That was his problem.
I gotta look at the list, but I saw that Mother and J-Lo are getting a bunch of Razzies. I mean, again, just like you said,
definitely doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, using your definition, the Mother was actually pretty good for what it was.
Yeah, I thought so.
So I'm like, why is this a Razzie? A Razzie is the
Razzies have completely lost their way in the recent years. There was a time when it made sense, but now it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? These were perfectly fine movies. They don't deserve this.
Cool. Well, see, I haven't even looked at the list, so we're gonna be going over that, and then hopefully get Andre in for the Zorro.
Yeah,
finale
I don't
watch
know if
party.
I'll be able to catch up on 9 episodes between now and Friday. I'll see what I can do. For
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So some people are really concerned about this female Zorro. Guys, I'm 4 episodes in. Trust me, there is a really good reason what's going on with that character, and it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Also, there is precedent for a female Zorro. This has happened in the original stories. You've had a female Zorro ever since the 1940s. If you have a 10-minute Zorro series, in a sense, it wouldn't be quite complete if a woman didn't take on the Zorro mantle at some point.
The origin's a little changed here, so that's why I'm like,
I'm curious about that. That's what I'm more worried about. Much more worried.
Yeah. So far, Andre, I think it rocks.
Yeah.
What
I hope so, but I'm not happy about the obvious change in origin. But we'll see what happens in due course.
Well, speaking of origins, in a little bit here, 70s rock fan who's hanging out in the chat, he's going to be doing a stream on Cobra, which has its origins in Beverly Hills Cop, for those who don't know. But I'm not going to get too deep into that because I'm sure he's going to. So check that out. I think that's like 4 Central, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's after your stream, Paulie. But you also have a couple things coming up here, right, Paulie?
Yeah. We were just talking. Gonna go over a couple of fun news items with struggle reviews right now in a few minutes, and then the Zorro watch party at the end of the week. So yeah.
And we have to get the team together to do a Norwegian reggaeton reaction. Although all the reaction we just wrapped came like 3 years ago, but I only just discovered the thing, and it's glorious. So everyone in the chat, check out Norwegian reggaeton on YouTube.
Sounds like something you eat.
Masterpiece.
Like something you eat. No, you wouldn't. Oh man,
the Norwegian reggaeton.
Norwegian way. The Norwegian reggaeton with
with whale.
sauce.
With whale. Yeah. Have you seen Monarch yet, Paulie?
I saw 1 episode. You're talking about the monsters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It was big hit on Apple, but it's like nobody I've talked to seen it, or they've only seen like 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah,
so.
and I have Apple.
I liked it, so I was just curious what you thought about it. I didn't hate it. I mean, I didn't love it. I liked it, so it's like kind of it was all right. To me, it actually, I don't know. I wasn't expecting like it to be all monsters and stuff, and there isn't a ton of monsters, but there's a monster in like every episode, and Godzilla shows up quite a bit, and stuff like that. At least in my opinion, but yeah, episode 5 is probably the worst episode, but otherwise, I thought overall it did a pretty good job of kind of, because I like how it basically fulfilled the promise of telling us how Monarch got started throughout the years and filling in the gaps between the movies and stuff compared to what S.H.I.E.L.D. did from MCU, what I thought S.H.I.E.L.D. was going to be, I guess. But
yeah, I heard it's a decent story. It's just like there's not a lot of monsters, not a lot of.
I don't know. I thought there was plenty, but I'm like the show's called Monarch. It's not called Monsters. So I mean, like, it's more about the building of Monarch. But I mean, I thought there's a monster in like every episode, or so. Like it felt like to me. So I don't know.
Gotcha.
But some people are saying it's woke. I mean, it has one bit in it that feels unnecessary, but other than that, I thought it was fine. So
people said Beekeeper was woke, and it's the most unwoke movie in existence.
That was so weird, but people were saying that.
That's completely ridiculous.
I mean, it is if anything, it is a kind of a throwback to just a masculine kind of kick-ass, revenge, I'm gonna avenge Felicia Rassad's character. I thought I would have liked another scene with Felicia before, I thought that was a little rushed as far as what happens to her character, but I just thought it was a great film, man. It was so good.
It was glorious.
What makes it really good too is all the different types of villains. They are sleazebags and hilarious.
Yeah, I went to back and saw it the second time too. This time with my wife. She loved it as well.
Did she?
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, chicks love Statham.
It was the best time we've had in theaters for a long time. It was much more fun than seeing Napoleon.
There's a movie. there's a reason why movies like Rambo and Die Hard and stuff like that did very well. It's because women like to watch men being manly men. Like, they like it. Duh.
Yeah. I'll never get over the fact that Rambo Last Blood and Charlie's Angels, the feminist reboot, opened within weeks of each other, and more women went to see Rambo and went to see the feminist Charlie's Angels. That was just glorious.
Yeah.
But
That's
even the
hilarious.
actors now are like speaking out against how lame that their roles were in Charlie's Angels. If I'm not mistaken, Kirsten Stewart was speaking out against it recently.
Oh, did she? Yeah.
It was we kind of like.
Can you send me an article for that?
Let me see if I can find it.
That's editorial material right there.
Okay, let me see if I can find it, because she's pretty much a rebel against the system as far as the Hollywood system. So
well, of course, she has a new movie coming right now, so that's extra reason to be a rebel against her past movies that bombed.
Right. But I forgot what I was going to say about the beekeeper. I loved is he a South African, that guy?
No, he's that dude. That guy, he fucking kicked ass.
Oh my God.
And no, he's actually a British actor. They put on a South African accent for the movie, but it worked. And it's like, oh, you want to see like amputee representation? The guy is not an amputee in real life, but that's how you fucking do it.
That's how you do it, man.
I mean that guy, because I'm not going to spoil it. Let's just say that there's everyone who's still watching here, like in Echo, you have Echo, who's like this amputee, and we're supposed to believe she's this badass.
No,
but it's so obvious from the fight. Like, I mean, those poor stuntmen, they deserve a raise because they had to do twice the job. Because not only did they have to pretend to beat her up, they physically have to do all the job of fighting against an invisible enemy that is fighting them and throwing them all around. And then you just have like Echo standing in for that invisible thing, because it's very obvious that they're doing all this job. In this movie right here, you have a guy who is not the actor is not an amputee, so no ESG points right there, but there's a story reason why he's an amputee. And and he's completely and utterly badass. He's the most baddest ass I've seen in ages.
Yes, one of the best villains I've seen in ages. I just want to say, like, it's a spoiler in a sense of like story structure. The fact that this character is introduced like in the last part of the movie is incredible. I was just like, this is just out of control.
And I love the subtle DEI messaging, because I was like, there's another beekeeper. And this other beekeeper is what you might call a diversity hire.
Right.
And this diversity hire isn't up to the regular beekeeper standards. That's all I'm going to say. So that was a nice messaging.
It was
right
great.
There as well.
They called the other beekeeper a lunatic. Like everyone called that beekeeper a lunatic. Awesome.
It was an embarrassment to beekeepers everywhere.
and did you guys get I don't know how your audience reacted, but every time they mentioned he's a beekeeper, our audience was just laughing and cheering.
It was so fun. Well, here's the thing, because the first time I saw it the original version, and then after I saw the Spanish dubbed version with my wife, because again, where I am right now, the default is dubbed into Spanish. And it was like funny how like the first part of the movie they say like the actual Spanish name for beekeeper, and then they switched to beekeeper in Spanish later on. So you kind of like lost that joke there, but the audience loved the movie. And what I did enjoy was seeing that there was a bigger audience, because we were going to see it one day. It was just a few seats sold. And then we went to see it the next day instead, and there was almost sold out. So it was actually increasing in audience. That's like some solid word of mouth right there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I seen it twice. I got a lot of jabs at the current political situation.
Oh, hell, I can't. I
in
can't
DC.
believe they did that. I can't believe they did that. I see how they
Yeah.
got away with it, because there you have like 2 layers of messaging. One is to keep Hollywood happy, and then it's a real messaging about the sun as a
Yep.
real message right there in an election year. This is why I'm not going to say anything more, but this is the genius of Beekeeper. It's not just that some people shot up Jason Statham's bees and he wants revenge. It's not just that. There's a deeper layer to it. And this is the true genius of the movie. The genius here is the messaging and how it bypasses the censorship. How it can say, "Oh no, look, here's the message. Look what we did with this person."
Yeah.
But that's just a visual appearance, and that person looked equally as much as Hillary and as Evelyn the Rothschild.
She was great. She was
fantastic. Yeah. But the
Josh Hutcherson,
real thing was the sun.
everyone. Yeah. Her look was a little like kind of an amalgamation of Warren and Clinton and
Exactly. And for those that haven't seen the movie, if you see the movie and you come back to, I don't want to spoil. I do not want to rob anyone of that glorious twist. But if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what we're talking about here and why Beekeeper is such a special movie.
And there's some great fight choreography. I mean, it is fun.
Best I've seen in ages.
So fun.
Again, it's the best since Equalizer 3.
Yeah, and the thing with Equalizer 3 is that it's a great it's Fuqua's homage to the Godfather, to those Italian mobster movies, and like it's beautiful. It's in this town, but if anything, the villains were compared to Beekeeper were a little too easy for Denzel to take out.
Yeah. And just so we don't spoil anything here. Yeah, that's the twist. That was the best part. That's what makes the movie. And for I'm not going to say anything. So Corellian Rogue wonders. So it's John Wick with beats instead of a dog. Let's just keep it simple and say yes. It's not quite, but yes, it's someone shoots up his beast and he wants revenge. Let's just go with that. You go in expecting that and be gloriously surprised.
And it probably is going to get greenlit for another one at least.
I hope so. I mean, this is a fucking franchise right here.
Yeah.
I mean, I want the Beekeeper trilogy.
So do I. I don't know about you, but slowly throughout the film, the female lead, I loved her.
Yeah.
Like I started she was really annoying at first. I'm like, this is gonna be that.
I was like, you could show a little bit more emotion given what happened here.
Right. But her and her partner's banter was just it was great, man. It was great. Some good stuff, man. That's the thing is, and we forgot to mention it's directed by David Ayer. So good for him to get a hit.
Himself. As far as I'm concerned, he has redeemed himself. He didn't write the movie, so now we know. David Ayer, you're a great director when you have a proper script. Someone else needs to write the script. So what you need to do right now is they need to get the guy who wrote the first Beekeeper script, have him write the sequel, have him write the part 3, and then David Ayer can direct those, and it's all forgiven. I mean, I paid attention to the direction the second time I saw it, because it was like Spanish dubbed, so I kind of tuned it out after a while. I just focused on the images. That was spot on direction. It's the best directed action I've seen in ages.
Well, he knew the assignment.
Yes, he knew the assignment.
And
he knew the assignment. He knew the assignment. We're making a Jason Statham movie right now.
Yep. And don't forget, Jeremy Irons is in this. Fantastic character.
Yeah.
Minnie Driver. I mean, it's it's great.
And whoever plays the South African, I forgot his name. Damn, he ruled.
That I once fought a beekeeper.
Yeah,
I was dying, man. I was dying. Okay, I got a show to do.
Yeah.
All right, kids, and that means it is time for.
It is time to check out Paulie afterwards. It's time to check back in later for Toxic Femininity.
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
Well, maybe. If not, we have videos coming.
Yeah.
But either way, it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. No fucks given,